Okay, we're 3 minutes late starting, so my name is David Klein, and I am the Vice Chairman. Luther Bratton, he had his last meeting the month before last, so the first thing we're going to do is elect new officers. And so, does anybody have a motion?
I have a motion, Mr. Vice. I'd like to nominate David Klein.
Second that.
Any other nominations? Okay. So I'm the only one. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So now we need a vice chair. Would anybody like to make a motion?
I'd like to nominate Mr. Williams to be vice chair. I'll second that.
Second, we have a nomination and a second. Any others? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations, Mr. Williams. Okay, we have, can I have a motion to approve the September meeting minutes without any changes? We have Deborah, and we have a second.
I'll second.
Second, Chris. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Need a motion to approve the agenda.
There were just a couple of modifications to the agenda that I wanted to note. There's a couple of very technical tweaks and then one thing to be removed from the agenda.
All right.
The tweaks are at item 11, Somerset Downs Phase 7. On the initial agenda we had sent out, we had down there as lots, it's lot 106 final plat. The final plat that was submitted is lots 105 and 106. Just to clarify that, we got that on what you have on your desk should match that wording, the 105 and 106 language. Next, item number 13, we had that on the agenda incorrectly. It's resolution 2023-06. It actually is resolution 2023-07. So we got that corrected as well. And then just, it's noted on the agenda that it's to be withdrawn, but I did want to note that item number 6 has been withdrawn, Jacobs Valley preliminary plat. That's not to be voted on this evening, it's been totally withdrawn by that.
Okay. Great. All right, so we have three changes to the agenda. Could I get a motion to accept the agenda?
Make motion.
Second. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. What we're going to do, we're going to do things a little bit differently here because we have so many agenda items, and I don't want to confuse the different agenda items. So rather than have a public comment at the very beginning, unless it's a universal or general comment for all things, but we're supposed to only make comments on the projects at hand. What we're going to do is, when after Josh Sutter does the report on the project, we will take comments from the public on that particular project, and then we will bring the representative for the developer up to answer any of those questions, concerns, and then we will continue with debate at the commission level. So, without further ado, Mr. Sutter, would you start with item number 1?
Yes, sir. One thing to note, I had a conversation with our law office a couple of days ago, just as a refresher for the planning commission, to kind of talk about the role of the planning commission with regard to items that are on the agenda tonight. There's 2 types of applications that are on the agenda tonight. The first is zoning items, and the second is subdivision items, so subdivision plans. The planning commission's role in general is divided into those 2 things. First, which is to make recommendations to the Sumner County Commission related to zoning items, which is first item on the agenda will be that. That will be to approve subdivision plans. In making recommendations, there are 4 zoning items on the agenda tonight. What you should do in making those recommendations is utilize the 9 zoning map amendment standards that are in the zoning resolution. Those will be brought up on the screen as we do those items. And the stats analysis will be provided as well. You don't have to agree with it, it's just out there for informational purposes. When we're looking at zoning recommendations, that is relatively subjective to some extent. It's your judgment as a citizen, as a planning commissioner. However, any negative recommendation that you might provide, I would recommend that you provide justification to say why you're making a negative recommendation or a positive recommendation for that matter, Mr. Chairman. Next, reviewing subdivision plats and site plans. Those kinds of applications are a little different from zoning items. Subdivision plats and site plans are what is known as by right applications. And what that means is that generally they must be approved if applicable zoning and subdivision requirements are met. That said, if there are subdivision requirements that are not met, an example might be fire hydrants or something like that, the planning commission has the option to grant a variance at its discretion. Again, you can do that in approving item, you can grant a variance. But that's just for subdivision items. So the planning commission can't grant zoning variances to lot sizes or anything like that. And that said, any requirements that are not met by the applicant in a subdivision plan, they do constitute grounds to deny the application. That's your only option in denying a subdivision application. If it doesn't meet requirements, then you can deny it and should. So in terms of denial of subdivision plats, what Tennessee Code annotated 13.3404 requires is that the ground of disapproval for any plat shall be stated upon the records of the commission. So what that means in the statute is the maker of the motion needs to specify the grounds for any denial. Those will be in the minutes, sacrifice the minutes, and ensure that that's the case. A subdivision plat cannot be legally denied if it complies with applicable zoning and subdivision requirements. And so there's a great document that we utilize in a lot of our analysis. Edwards and Dean's an overview of land use law in Tennessee. What they said is if the applicant meets the requirements contained in the subdivision regulations, then the plat must be approved. The planning commission can't act arbitrarily and capriciously. So a subdivision plat can only be denied if it can be demonstrated that the application fails to comply with a specific county standard and the subdivision regulations or the county zoning resolution. Now that said, Mr. Chairman, if the planning commission looks at a subdivision plat and feels like the layout could be improved, if there's items that, as far as the design, you have questions about or want to see done differently, that's within the planning commission's purview to recommend those changes, have them come back next month with it redrawn. That is allowable. But an outright denial without some kind of specific county standard is not. Last thing, and I apologize, Mr. Chairman, subdivision plats in the 2035 comprehensive plan, as you know, Mr. Chairman, we've had a lot of discussion. The 2035 comprehensive plan has character areas, rural, suburban, that kind of thing. We've had discussion that the comp plan and the zoning resolution are not in alignment. So some parts of the comp plan says that some parts of the county should be in 5-acre lots. But the zoning resolution says 40,000 square foot lots, so we have that conflict. But the comprehensive plan does provide guidance in that regard. And what it says is those character areas are not meant to be synonymous with the zoning resolution, should not replace the rules and requirements into the county zoning resolution, regulations. The character areas are a framework. So what that is saying is that the zoning rules, if there's conflict between the comp plan and the current zoning code, the zoning code rules. And so we've had that discussion a couple times in the last few months, but I didn't want to reiterate all those kinds of things because it does bear repeating from time to time. So, Mr. Chairman,
So was the spirit of the 2035 comprehensive plan for the zoning requirements to follow suit?
Yes, sir.
And it didn't happen?
That's right. Yes, sir. I think that the comprehensive plan has the rural place type, which, as you know, does recommend 5-acre lots in that part of the county, which is most of the county. The county commission has not at this time. We are working on it. As you know, the planning commission has had a lot of discussion and study sessions and that kind of thing to look at bringing those two plans into compliance, the zoning and the comp plan. But that's not happened yet. But I think that is the intent of the plan is to have an alignment there. Yes.
And because things have changed in the last 20 years, that's when the 2035 comp plan was developed.
It was about 13 years ago. It was in 2010. Yes, sir.
And so because things have changed, we're in the process of maybe amending the 2035 plan or something.
As well, I can see us amending the new comp plan as well. That's a lengthy process as well as amending the zoning code to bring those two plans in alignment.
I bring that up specifically for the audience and the live streaming audience as well.
Yes.
Okay.
So I apologize for all that. I don't want to use that little preamble there. So the first item on the agenda, Mr. Chairman, is Heavenly Garage Doors PUD rezoning and concept plan. Mr. Chairman, this is represented by Greenlit Design. on these properties, I think 6.7 acres, as you can see on the screen there. This is along New Highway 109. Here, the currently zoned rural residential, this is a request related to constructing and operating a warehouse for materials, as well as an office space, satellite office space for a garage door company. They would use this as a hub essentially to be able to get materials in and out the door throughout the county. The adjoining property owners were notified by certified mail, and it was advertised in the Gallatin News and Hendersonville Standard on November 9th. This is an aerial of the subject property. Kind of put it a bit, pull back just a little bit in this perspective. You can see where it is. You see the Sky Parker Road here, which is the old Highway 109. This is the new Highway 109 here. This is primarily a residential area. As you can see, it's all zoned rural residential at this time. As far as public notice, neighborhood meeting was held in accordance with our zoning resolution on September 6th. Rezoning notification signage has been placed along the road frontage. Adjoining property owners were sent certified letters related to the planning commission's public hearing and the neighborhood meeting as well. And again, it was advertised in the local newspaper on November 9th. For our zoning resolution. This is the public notice that was put in the newspaper. This is the letter that they were sent about the neighborhood meeting that is held by the developer. That's a requirement for all planned unit developments in Sumner County. And this is the summary that was provided that just details when the meeting happened, what was talked about, any concerns, that kind of thing. I believe that was in attendance this evening and can answer any questions in that regard. So to move on to the plan that's been turned in, this is an existing condition sheet. Mr. Chairman, those are topo lines. There's some topographic issues there. The build site is a good ways down off the road, basically. They will be accessing here, and I'll show some plans on that. There'll be immediate access that we put in here, so we won't be having people that are need to do U-turns to come back around and get into it or anything. It'll go right across, and they do have this existing access to be removed. We don't allow multiple accesses along Highway 109. We have a agreement with UDOT to preserve the corridor. So this is the concept plan that was turned in. This is the driveway grading. Come down off the road again. This median, it'll line up with this median here. Driveway will be put in. This is a new building. There's a house in this area somewhere to be removed. The existing septic system for the house is right here that will service this building as well. And they do have a stormwater area conceptually shown here. Drainage calculations and that kind of stuff, construction plan is going to later in the process if the rezoning is approved. 9,600 square foot warehouse, as you can see here, with a 2,400 square foot office area and employee parking here in the back. Allowable uses are listed here. Primarily what they're proposing to use is down here, but I think they've added a few uses that they've pulled from the zoning code for things that they might potentially be able to do with the property in the future. One thing I did want to note as far as other uses in the area, I didn't mention this. You can see the area is zoned rural residential, but there is an item right here, I believe, this property right here is an existing, well, it's an auto mechanic shop that has a conditional use permit from the Board of Zoning Appeals, and they've operated legally here at this location for a number of years as well. So there are other commercial uses in the vicinity as well. They did turn in architectural elevations, just to show what the building is going to look like. Comprehensive plan, we talked about the comp plan a little while ago, it's very out of date. It doesn't show Highway 109 because it wasn't built yet in that location. And so it's hard to use the comp plan as a frame of reference for this particular project and other ones on the agenda this evening in the past, because the road itself doesn't exist on the comp plan. But it is in the rural place site along the new highway. As far as drainage, a conceptual grading plan has been submitted that shows how the site will be graded out and storm drainage will be put in and that kind of thing conceptually. Per the zoning resolution and subregs and stormwater resolution that gets a lot more detailed. If the rezoning is approved, they'll have to come back to the planning commission with a site plan before they can build the building, and you get a lot more detail as far as the engineering at that time. Roads, it's located along Highway 109, which is a major arterial roadway. Again, it will utilize this existing median crossover in order to eliminate U-turns. You don't want people having to go up here and make U-turns, or vice versa, they can come back around and make U-turns or anything. So it's much safer with that arrangement. I believe they had that discussions with TDOT about making use of this median crossover, which is something TDOT would absolutely want to see. Pictures, we went out to the site a couple days ago and staff took some pictures of the subject property. Again, you see the build site is kind of down here. It's a good ways down below the road. And so these are those 9 map amendment standards. I know it bores everybody to death when I go over these, but it is integral to the decision-making process on rezonings. What the zoning resolution says is that the planning commission needs to take these into account in making recommendations to the county commission. So the first one is it consistent with the comp plan and any other plans? Again, the comp plan is out of date and doesn't reflect the Highway 109 at this location. So it's hard to make a good assessment on that one. Are there changed conditions that require a zoning amendment? Note number 1 is applicable. There's a major arterial state highway that has been constructed at this location. 3, does it address a community need? That applicant indicates as far as the market, they're needing a place to do their business basically. This would help them to service the area. 4, is it compatible with existing and proposed uses surrounding the subject property? Is it appropriate? It will be located along the new Highway 109, which is an arterial roadway. And again, there are commercial uses in the vicinity as well that have been long-standing. Would it result in a logical and orderly development pattern or deviate from that? And again, it will be located along a state highway, a major state highway, with commercial uses nearby. Would it encourage development prior to the availability of necessary service? Water service is available. They did provide a letter, I believe, from White House Utilities, stating that septic service is also available on site that we will utilize that existing septic system and use those from a major arterial roadway. 7, would it create an isolated zoning district unrelated to adjacent surrounding zoning district? It would create a PUD zoning district. There are no other zoning districts, commercial zoning districts in the immediate vicinity, but there are other commercial uses. We have not received any real estate appraisals or anything that this is going to damage property values, and so you do have to have that in order to take this particular one into account. You need some proof. We don't see it having adverse impacts on the natural environment, air, water, noise, stormwater management, natural function of the environment. Stormwater has to be addressed on site. There's existing tree cover and that kind of thing around the site as well that's going to be kept in place by the applicant per their plan. They do have a buffer shown. And so, Mr. Chairman, the next steps, the planning commission is asked to make a recommendation this evening. After the recommendation, positive or negative, it goes to the legislative committee for 2 readings, and then goes to the full county commission for a vote. County commission can send it back down if they wish to do so to the planning commission. If it's approved by the county commission, the rezoning will be effective at that time. And once they get the rezoning, they have to turn the site plan in the planning commission before they can go to construction with all the engineered documents. I'm showing how they're going to build this. So, Mr. Chairman, that concludes my presentation. The example motions are on the screen to provide a positive or negative recommendation on this item or to defer. So, Mr. Chairman, this is a public hearing, I neglected to mention that, we do have 2 folks that are signed up to speak. First person signed up, I think of Wade Lyles.
How big concern is the water that's coming off here?
Sir, you state your name and
Uh, Wade Lyles, 2048 Scotty Parker Road. I'm the one that's got the automotive repair shop, joins this police property.
Okay.
Since they put the 4-lane in, we have a lot of water come off that road. They've got drainage pipes, catches with what springs and stuff. It's eroded trees, washes the pond dam out continuously. So our biggest concern is, you know, we need to redirect this water somewhere because put this 10,000 square foot warehouse up, the water's gonna go somewhere. And we sure don't need it on our side. We're not trying to be a bad neighbor, but we just want, you know, we want the water to go somewhere, not flood us out like it's already doing that. We contacted the state a couple of times, I don't really got no answers from it. But, you know, the road was, built on a lot of the road springs up through there, and they just got big pipes hanging out. When it rains, I like last night, you don't see a whole lot of it, but where they're gonna put that building at, it gets deep there when we get some more rain like we should. Of course, erosion and everything else, that's our big concern. It's washed that building's this deep over on our property. So if they can redirect that or whatever, we have no issue whatsoever. Because a couple of neighbors already contacted me about putting power over there, which they took the power down 4 or 5 years ago when Mrs. Olivia Loftus passed away. So they're going to come across our property now. I don't know how you expect the water over there. It said it's going to go 4 lane, which is solid rock. There's no water, no utilities on it, you want to buy that somewhere. So, yeah, there's no water over there. It's some of their south tunnel, which has to be moved quite at least a mile or 2 down the road. So, yeah, there's no water over there whatsoever. And that septic tank that they was talking about, where it's at, it was only good for about a 1-bedroom house. So that's going to be a factor also. Up on the hill. I just didn't know if the owner or the person who's trying to buy this, he knows all the information on. We've been out there since the 80s. We used to farm that place. And I had cattle to it till this summer, till this week passed away. So I can tell them everything about that piece of property. There's a house that's been torn down, it's been covered up. Shingles, drywall, asbestos, it's all covered up those trees. And it's like we hauled off on the same factor's place. So that's just, we want to be a good neighbor. We don't want no problems. We'd like that all up front. Thank you.
Next person signed up is Mr. Kevin Baker.
Kevin Baker, 424 Lee Road. Mr. Chairman, I wasn't going to speak on anything tonight, but all of a sudden it piqued my interest. I remember vividly in 2012 sitting in a meeting, a public hearing on the expansion of Route 109. The then county mayor said that this is going to be a bypass around Nashville. And that they had agreements with the cities that there would be no more addition of traffic lights, as well as limiting the number of access points, because they recognized that the number of trucks that would be coming up and down bypassing Nashville was going to go through the roof. And when I saw this, all of a sudden it just kind of piqued my interest. I'm like, well, we're going to be going into a U-turn, or to go up and down and with commercial vehicles. I don't know that it's the best use of that. And it creates a hazard. It wasn't that long after 109 was completed that the Scotty Parker Road intersection had to be totally redone, had to get the state legislature involved, millions of dollars worth of work, because 2 or 3 or 4 youngsters got killed when they pulled out in front of a truck and got creamed and you know, I don't have a dog in this hunt. I really don't have a problem with commercial development up there, but I mean, I think it's just not a good use for a bypass artery that's supposed to be having interstate trucks going up and down and coming down that hill. They do tend to accelerate. So just wanted to give that, you know, I don't know if legal, if there are any binding agreements. Like I say, the words out of the then mayor's mouth where we have agreements in place with the localities that there will be no more traffic lights and access points. To me, that meant we're going to let this kind of commercial develop, but it's just food for thought. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, that's all the folks I have signed up to speak. Is anybody from Greenland Design here to speak on this?
Yes, sir. Zach Baker with Greenland Design. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
This agreement that Mr. David was talking about, are you familiar?
I'm not aware of that.
Mr. Chairman, I was in charge of that program when I worked at TDOT, so I can speak to that. So my office actually did all the corridor management, Scott corridor management agreement is what it's called. And so what that agreement says is basically, there's no hard and fast requirements in that agreement as far as what anybody has to do or doesn't have to do or anything. Sumner County has gone above and beyond. We have put specific requirements in our zoning code that deal specifically with Highway 109. As far as spacing of any traffic lights, prohibition on any new curb cuts, any new road access has been put on Highway 109, and road spacing for new roads. So there's a 4,000 linear foot spacing requirement for new traffic lights. I think it's an 1,100 linear foot spacing requirements for new road accesses. Well, for new roads, the new roads that are going to connect onto it, like actual roads. So it's not limited to a subdivision or something. And then again, a prohibition on any additional road accesses. That said, every parcel up and down Highway 109, all the way from the city of Lebanon, all the way to Portland, every parcel was given one road access, at least one road access by TDOT when they acquired the right of way through there. And this parcel was no exception. They have one existing road access that they're allowed to use at this time. Again, what they're proposing to do is to eliminate that existing road access and move it to a safer location so that it'll connect directly to the median and then a crossover, yes, sir. Yeah. And so that's called CMA, a corridor management agreement that was entered into as kind of we're all going to do our best kind of an agreement between TDOT, the city of Lebanon, the city of Portland, the city of Gallatin, Wilson County, and Sumner County. And so Sumner County and the city of Portland, as far as I know, are the only two entities that really followed through on that commitment and put teeth into our regulations. And so we do have stuff in our zoning code that makes us you're restricted on what you can and can't do online. Sorry, it's big information.
No, it's good information. Can you address the flood control concerns in Mr. Laus?
Well, that will be handled with the site plan. We will submit detailed drainage plans that will eliminate any of that concern from your property.
Mr. Summers, have you been involved in any talks or even that far yet?
No, sir, not really. This is kind of conceptual zoning at this stage. But they will have to ensure that any post-construction runoff from this site, again, there's a conceptual stormwater pond that's put there. It will have to be installed, and what we really have to do is make sure that no new development makes any existing issue worse. Our goal for whenever possible is to make sure that development, we use center resources, frankly, to try to make things a little better, is what we try to do. And so we're able to succeed in a lot of ways on that with development whenever it comes in across the county. Can I ask a question? Sure. The water, question about water. Do you guys ever provide water availability letter? Do you know what's going is there?
We did get extended on one, and it's going to be rather expensive, but that's our only option for water.
One other question, the existing septic system, it's usable at this point?
We will evaluate that once we move forward with the site plan. Again, this is preliminary. It's there, but we'll get a soil scientist out to make sure that it will function.
In capacity,
Yes.
I wouldn't think there's a whole lot of capacity.
I won't need it, but we'll provide that at a later date, assuming this gets approved.
Any other questions?
More of a concern, my concern was with that septic. I mean, how big is that building going to be, how many square feet, say 10,000?
12,000.
12,000 square feet, and a septic for one bedroom that we don't even know if it's still usable. I don't know.
Yeah, and
It's just
again,
concerning to me.
we'll provide evidence that it either is or will need to do a bigger septic area.
Because you're asking for the, I get you have to do the rezoning first, but then you do the rezoning and then you can't build there, it's kind of a waste of money. Okay.
And Mr. Sutter, that's a low area. There's generally no problems with septic systems and lots that are low.
I'm always hesitant to speculate on septic because you just, number one, I'm not a soil scientist and it's all a little bit of a mystery to me, even though I deal with it every day. I know exactly how to decide what does work and doesn't work. But I mean, on a lot this size, I would hope that they could find adequate area to actually map a new system. And if the planning commission wants to see that at the site plan studies, you know, it's going to have to meet TDEC requirements regardless. The septic is a little bit out of our hands in that the state has, with Sumner County has basically said to the state, we want you to take care of septic, and it's totally subject to the state's requirements, not ours.
All right, we're at the point of a motion. And I can't make one.
David, my good David. My concern is this is literally the only PUD in a rural residential area, right off that busy road. We're not sure about flooding issues, I know that that's all, that comes later, but, I guess there's no, besides the one gentleman that spoke, there's really no neighbors here to say what they think, and I know there's a conditional use, but it's not actually a PUD, so that's still zone rural residential, correct, with the conditional use? Okay. Nobody's making a motion, so I'm just gonna have to go with number 2. I'm gonna provide a negative recommendation. I just don't think that it fits in the area. And if somebody doesn't want to second it, y'all can do something different.
Do we have a second? You'll second it? Okay. Mr. Williams? All right, all in favor? Roll call, I'm sorry.
Commissioner Holmes? Commissioner Mr. Williams?
Okay, passage unanimous, or fails unanimous. Yes, okay. Item 2 passes unanimous. Okay, moving on to item 2, Mr. Sumner, you're up.
So, Mr. Chairman, the next item on the agenda is Ray Madison Broadcasting LLC, PV, major plan amendment number 2. This item is located on Scotty Parker Road, not too far from the other item. So the property contains 1 acre, it's currently zoned plan unit development. The original master plan on this one was approved back in 2018 for a radio station that was located here, this property. The county commission approved plan amendment number 1 back in 2022, so last year, I believe it was last year, in order to update the table of uses. This is amendment number 2 that's being brought forward in order to do a couple things. One is to add the community assembly use, which is a church use. I'm going to utilize the property as a church, and to show improvements including a new building and additional parking. This is a major plan amendment, since it does involve changing the table of uses and adding new structures to the site beyond what was originally approved. Property owners listed on the assessor site is Ray Madison Broadcasting LLC. The applicant is Cristobal Picado. Project representative is Greenland Design. This item is advertised in the Gallatin News and Initial stand on November 9th. And owners are notified by certified mail. So the grants for a major PUD amendment, our zoning code allows certain very minor administrative changes to be done by staff administratively. But if you do certain things, it does have to go all the way back through the process, all the way through planning commission and the county commission. And two of those are adding square footage, which they're doing for this application, and then modifying development regulations, including allowable uses. And so that's something else that they're doing. So this is a major amendment that has to go through the full process. Here's where it was noticed in the newspaper. Here's where the neighborhood meeting was held on August 9th. They provided a summary to us. This is the subject property. Again, this is a radio station. There's an existing church facility over here just to the north. They came through recently with a site plan, I believe, a few months ago, for some additional construction. In the context, if you look where it's at, it's surrounded by commercially zoned property. These orange parcels are zoned convenience commercial. I believe this is a light industrial zoning here for a mini storage facility, and this is all planned unit development here. And then again, the subject property here is also zoned PUD, so a good bit of non-residential zone property in the vicinity. This is the original master plan as it was turned in a number of years ago under a different set of regulations that didn't require much more detail. They only allowed for radio stations to go there, so they had it amended a while back. This is the concept plan that was amended. Again, they added some uses here to the table and showed buffering and screening and that kind of thing as well, bring that in compliance with our current regulations. And so what they're doing here, we kind of talk about between Amendment 1 and Amendment 2. See, the existing building is to remain. Now proposing to construct a new building here with additional parking. And it's my understanding that this is a church facility. I'm not sure if the church will be conducted out of this building. I think that's my understanding. This church will be conducted out of this building. This will be an office essentially, so they use this one. You see conceptual stormwater area here. The septic area is here that serves the radio station. Okay, a little bit closer view. And you see buffering and screening that's added here to be planted, and that would need to be put in with the building. They added, again, community facility activities, the church and other similar activities have been added here to the use table. Architecture has been submitted here to show what it will look like. Scotty Parker Road is the former State Route 109. This site has been zoned commercial for a while. We had not required a traffic impact analysis for this application because you're not talking about peak hour traffic, you're generally talking about Sunday traffic and that kind of thing once a week. Road improvements are not anticipated to be required for any use that's on the table of allowed uses due to limitations of the site. It's on septic, and so without public sewer at this location, it's difficult to generate a lot of traffic activity. You just can't do those kinds of uses, like a restaurant, that kind of thing. Driveway parking area will need to be paved, should it go to construction, so it will need to be asphalt. Drainage, all of our water quality and quantity requirements need to be met for future applications. Any runoff for the existing and proposed buildings would need to be met and contained on site. They do have landscaping shown again, as I said, and parking is conceptual at this stage. We'll get more into detail on that at the site plan stage. Utilities, fire protection, the water is to be provided by White House Utilities. There is a hydrant right up right near the property, within 100 feet of the property, I believe. Fire protection is to be provided by the relevant volunteer fire department. There is no public sewer at this location, and will need to be on septic. This will be a concern in that a church is generating new bit of septic. And I don't know, they don't know. Again, it's not uncommon for applications that come through at this stage not to have all the septic details worked out just yet. But that will have to be worked out prior to that building being built. Any kind of septic permit from the state needed to be obtained. And again, it's not been sent out for the new building at this time. Signage that was put out on site. You see the existing building here. It's the county rezoning sign that we require to be placed out. This is back behind the building, kind of showing you where the new building is gonna go in this area. Those 9 standards, it's not inconsistent with the 2035 comprehensive plan. Long-standing non-residential use of this location, we'll just continue that, expand it. That does indicate that they do need to expand their church facilities here at this location, and so there's services needed. It is compatible with the common plan. Located along the former arterial routes, good road access, commercial property in the vicinity as well. Water services available per White House utilities. Septic service needs to be clarified at the site plan stage. Again, it does run a major arterial roadway. It wouldn't create an isolated zoning district in that there are already commercial properties in the vicinity, including this one. No appraisal or anything like that has been submitted, and we don't anticipate any negative impacts that can be mitigated on site. Signage, there's no existing signage, there's a conceptual sign location, and maybe get a sign permit for that. Next steps, again, it goes to legislative, and then the full county commission, if they approve it, and then it will be effective, and they can submit a site plan to the county at that time. Mr. Chairman, there's example motions on the screen to provide a positive or negative recommendation or to defer it. I'd like to answer any questions that concludes my presentation.
Senator Baker with Greenwood Design, have to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions for the developer? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I don't have any questions, so, Josh, does anybody else?
I don't know.
Then at this point, I entertain a motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion, for number 1.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Chrissy Wood. Any questions on the motion of the second? All in favor, say aye. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm doing a roll call.
Commissioner Holmes? Commissioner Miller? Mr. Williams?
It passes unanimously. So both of those are going to legislate to read.
Yes, sir. So the next step would be for, on item number 1, they will have the option to either proceed or to withdraw the application.
Okay.
And then item number 2, I would want to proceed to legislative discussion.
Okay. Item number 3, Riggs Highway 31 WHPD rezoning.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is another planning and development request. They kind of piled up on us just a little bit. We've got several on the agenda tonight, as I said earlier. Property owner is Jeremy Riggs, represented again by Greenwood Design. This property contains 2.48 acres, currently zoned rural residential. They're wanting to utilize this property for a mini storage facility, as is depicted on their plans. One thing to note, the subject property, and we'll show pictures in a minute, the property currently contains an existing legal non-conforming commercial auto repair use that's been in place there apparently since the 70s. I think this right there in the White House planning region years ago, and so it's been in existence for decades. What they're proposing to do is to remove that existing structure and to build the mini storage buildings in its place. Adjoining property owners are notified by certified mail. It was advertised in the Gallatin News and National Standard on November 9th. This is the subject property here. If anybody's wondering why there's no coloration here, it's because it's in Robertson County, and so this is US 31W here. And again, this is the subject property. You see, it is surrounded by a larger tract. This is an aerial photo. It kind of looks like multiple buildings. You don't have to look at it with shadows, but it actually is one big building. Public notice, there was a neighborhood meeting that was held in accordance with Chapter 9 of the county zoning resolution on October the 2nd. Rezoning notifications on the road frontage, certified letters were sent to the adjoining property owners. It was advertised in the Gallatin News and National Standard on November 9th. This is the public notice. It's in the paper. It was in the paper on November 9th. This is the notice that they sent out to let us know about the meeting. And this is the summary that was provided by the applicant about it. I don't think they had anybody in attendance, basically what it says. Existing conditions, they essentially just overlay the plan with setbacks and buffers and that kind of thing with the building and parking lot shape it looks like. This is the concept plan that's been turned in, as you see, again, what's proposed to tear this down and build this. And so they've here utilizing that same entrance there on the 31W. You see the buffer yard around it, retention, other signage, conceptual signage area right here. We can zoom in on this. If you guys have any questions later on in the presentation, we can zoom in a little bit more. They did turn in a photometric lighting plan. I recognize that is impossible to read up here, but each one of these little dots is a little number that basically shows the lumens, the brightness of these buildings. And what we want to see is that go down as close to zero off as it goes to the property line. And that's what this shows. It's basically, it's a little brighter right here. They'll have to have this lit for safety purposes. But then it gets less bright as you move away. And so that is in compliance with our regulations. They did provide elevations. Our requirements for many storage buildings, they require a brick wrap around them. Like most other jurisdictions, you'll see that there's a lot of brick and stuff that have to be put on these. There's no exception for this one. And again, we have encouraged them to do additional plantings. We recognize this is not many storage is not regarded as generally the most aesthetically pleasing thing in the world, so we do ask them to wrap it, and plantings and that kind of thing. Comprehensive plan, you see where it's at here, just outside the 400 growth boundary, here along US 31W, in that rural place like. Drainage, same thing we said with the other ones, they've got conceptual grading plans been submitted, and that when they come back for the site plan, if this is approved eventually, that we need all the stormwater stuff addressed with retention necessary and everything else. Roads, this is along US 31W, which is a major arterial roadway. They're utilizing the existing access point on this lot. No additional road accesses are proposed. We didn't request a traffic study or anything because you've got a commercial use here right now. Frankly, the mixed use is probably going to generate less traffic. This is some photos we took. You see our little sign here. We'll show you a picture of the sign that we put out. This is the building from the road here. You see they do a lot of parking around the sides of the buildings, storage vehicles and that kind of thing as well. Zoning map amendment standards. It's not inconsistent with the county's comprehensive plan. It doesn't necessarily address these kinds of convenience type commercial uses. It more deals with the residential aspects of things. It is along a major state route. There is a long-standing legal non-conforming use at this location. The commercial use would essentially continue and just be formalized with a zone change. The applicant obviously does indicate that the market is dictating a need of this additional mini storage. There's a big demand for that kind of thing. And this body has seen several of these applications over the last couple of years. I don't know necessarily that it's totally compatible with the comprehensive plan. Again, the comprehensive plan doesn't necessarily address these kinds of commercial type uses along major state roads in as much detail as it should. It deals more with residential uses. It's located along a major arterial state route. Significant residential use. I think I've got some typos on that one. I apologize for that. Water services available. They do provide water letter. Sewer service is not needed for this use because it's there's no bathrooms or running water or anything like that. No real estate appraisal has been provided, and we don't anticipate any negative impacts from this beyond what's current now. General next steps at this meeting, again, the planning commission has to make a recommendation. We go to legislative, the full county commission. It's approved, if it's approved by the county commission, the rezoning will be effective at that time. And the site plan will have to be turned in prior to any construction activity occurring. And so showing there's example motions on the screen there. I'd like to answer your questions. Green Lady is the representative on this one as well. Nobody signed up. No, sir. No, sir.
Does anybody have any questions for Green? Oh, for Josh.
So, you said that, what is there now? What are they doing now? Is that a conditional use permit?
I apologize. It's a diesel mechanic shop, I believe, although it's a diesel mechanic shop. Yes, and there's that area around White House, and that White House Portland area was a little bit of a no man's land for many years. It was in the White House planning region where they had jurisdiction over it for a long time. And the county would periodically take that away from them and give it back to them back in the 70s and 80s. And so we've got a number of buildings that have been built over the years that we can't quite figure out who permitted them and if they were legal at the time and that kind of thing. The presumption on this one is that since it's been there since the 70s and it was in that old planning region, that it was okay.
So that's kind of changed.
Now it became.
Rural residential now, but
Right.
it was.
It was zoned at that time, it was either zoned agricultural or residential A. I'm not sure what the
So
zone was.
is the current owner that's wanting to take it from the auto diesel mechanic shop to
Yes.
the storage?
Yes. That's my understanding. I'd have to defer to the applicant, but it's my understanding that it's the same person. who owns it now. Yeah. I think you rented to somebody, that's my understanding.
Exactly, they're in the design, yes, it is currently, this one, it is.
See, also the operator still with the diesel?
He is not.
He is not.
No, sir.
I do have one more question. Is it, so it's been operating as kind of commercial for a while, but is it mainly surrounded by, I mean, there are like homes close to it, what's close to it?
There's, and I can pull up the aerial that you see kind of what, it's surrounded by a large tract, that, kind of like about a 50-acre tract, that kind of envelops it, surrounds it. There's no homes that directly above it or anything.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no other questions, I entertain a motion. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Motion to approve.
On item one. Okay,
I don't know, is that
a motion to approve, do we have a second?
a positive or positive?
Yeah. Second by you, Christie.
Yes.
Roll call.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Holmes? Yes. And Commissioner Walker? Yes. And Mr. Williams?
Lewis had commercial plaza PUD major planning item number one.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This piece of property is located at the intersection of State Route 109 and West Roberts Road. Such property contains two parcels containing 10.1 acres. Kind of boil this down just a little bit. There's two parcels involved in this. Both of them are essentially 5-acre tracts, 5.05 acre tracts. One is currently zoned planning and development as part of a commercial development that was approved a number of years ago called the Lewis Head Commercial Plaza. The other one is currently zoned rural residential. And so what they're seeking to do is to amend the existing planning and development, and I'll show you how in a minute, and to add this other 5-acre parcel into the development. What they actually would do would be to rezone one parcel to amend it and then add additional buildings and other improvements. Allowable uses are to remain, this is the question we had for them, they're to remain unchanged from the existing planning and development, so they're not proposing to do anything new that hasn't already been approved by the county commission. The property owner of both parcels is Lewis Head. Project representative and designer is 615 Design Group. All traffic will access West Roberts Road via an existing shared access with the adjacent property, which is the Dollar General, along West Roberts Road that was widened by the Dollar General folks a couple of years ago. Adjoining property owners are notified by certified mail. It was advertised in the Gallatin News, and they're still standing on November 9th. This is the notice that's placed in the paper. This is the invitation from the applicant's representative. This is a summary of the meeting, what they just talked about. People that attended, we had a couple folks in attendance on this one. County staff was in attendance, and they just covered all that. A little bit of background, the property was rezoned to planning and development, or PUD, by the Sumner County Commission on March 22nd, 2021. A site plan was approved by the Planning Commission in April of 2021. They went ahead and were required to, the Dollar General folks were to widen Roberts Road. They completed that as part of the Dollar General project and sort of in 2022. So, again, existing Dollar General here, these are the two subject properties. This one is currently zoned PUD, and this one's zoned rural residential. Yeah, there you go. And so this is the approved Lewis Head Commercial Plaza PUD that was approved back in 2021. It's oriented the opposite way. The north is over here on this side. You just kind of visualize it if you would. This is the Dollar General parcel right here. This is another parcel that at the time was proposed to be an auto mechanic shop. And so that's what was approved by the county commission at that time. And then this was more of a shops, kind of a convenience commercial type use. And so what they are proposing to do is take this one building and instead put 2 buildings on this parcel and 2 buildings on this parcel. Yeah, just to keep beating a dead horse here. Number 1 is currently zoned PUD. We're currently approved for construction and auto repair business. Number 2 is zoned rural residential. We want to add it to the PUD. Existing conditions. This is the sheet just left there. It's just vacant property at this time. And this is what they are proposing to do. So they're proposing again to access here through the Dollar General parking lot. There is a shared access. We did require the Dollar General folks to connect in multiple locations on their property to facilitate access in this manner. It's my understanding that the intended use, I'll talk about allowable uses, but intended use is essentially construction, sales, and services kind of a thing where folks would, if you had somebody running a plumbing company or an electrical company or something like that, they would be able to rent these buildings, if I understand them, or maybe purchase them and operate their business out of the site. The parking lot would need to be all gravel. We did look at it to ensure that turn movements, they provided a separate sheet for turn movements into this, and circulation around the site as well, and within it. And so the site overall is designed pretty well. Just kind of zooms in here. These little areas here are detention areas and septic areas. This is detention down here and up here, and these are some septic areas. And I believe they have done a soil map at this time. I don't think that even Mr. Correll will come up as the representative and he partnered. It's my understanding that they have done some preliminary work on that. I could be mistaken. Again, during the neighborhood meeting, we had some questions about truck turns, and so they did provide some truck turn movements, which makes sense to engineers, but not me, but Mr. Boyd has looked at them, and he made sense of it, felt like it showed what we needed to do. drainage, this is a preliminary grading plan where they're showing how they grade, you see the pond here, that kind of thing, it ponds to the back. There is residential over here to the west, so we did require additional landscape buffering here on that side. There's a type 2 landscape buffer. Obviously, there's no buffering here because they joined the Dollar General property, we don't need buffering there. They also provided a photometric lighting plan. I really like the way that they did this. If you see, this is kind of what, these are the 4 buildings. They show you what the brightness of it would look like at nighttime if you're looking at it from above. And so, again, within you can see the red numbers, you see that these are down projecting LED that provide fixtures and cut sheets and everything. They do this the way that they really were supposed to. And so this meets our requirements for photometric lighting plans. This is the approved architecture for the current plan. That was pretty laborious. The planning commission sent it back 3 or 4 times, I think, before they finally settled with the developer on what these buildings were going to look like. You see there's a lot of brick, that included the auto mechanic shop. The current architecture that's proposed, this is what these buildings would look like. You see there'd be brick on the side facing the road. These are bays in the back, so the trucks are back in and get loaded and unloaded and that kind of thing. There's a side profile, you see some additional bays. I believe so, yes, sir, and I think there may be some brick on the sides and the back as well, but I'm not going to have to defer to Mr. Morrell for the materials, that they're going to come back in size. These are the allowable uses from the original PUD that was approved. They're keeping those in place. Again, our understanding is that it was actually proposed for these would be a construction sales and services type use. But obviously, if somebody wanted to do vehicle repair or something like that, that would also be allowed. Roads, West Roberts Road, as I mentioned a while ago, has already been widened along the frontage of the eastern motor track. The one that's currently zoned PUD is part of the Dollar General project. They turned in a traffic impact analysis at that time for the overall site. What it indicated is that State Route 109 is a well-built roadway. Essentially, no additional improvements were needed at that time. There's a left turn deceleration lane in place on the northbound side, and a southbound deceleration lane is not warranted for the city. Conceptual drainage plan has been turned in. Much more detail is required, obviously, at the site plan stage. Again, type 2 landscape buffer is shown. Landscaping requirements within the parking areas have been done as well. Parking at this stage is conceptual. We would drill in a lot more detail, make sure they have all their handicap spots and everything else that has to be put in if they're, if it's approved, it gets to the site plan stage. We do have an overall signage plan sheet for this development. We did have a lot of discussion with when this was initially rezoned about what the signage needed to look like for this development. And we did require an additional sheet here to be turned in for this application as well. And they would have to assign permits before they put up any of these signs. And so this basically is a very well done. They have an architect that really worked on some of this stuff. It indicates various sign types and where they would be located here within the property for the different businesses that would be located here. You see brick, most of the brick, in keeping with the Dollar General sign that's there now. Comprehensive plan, that's kind of the same issue as one of the earlier ones. It's located within a rural place type, but 109 didn't exist when the comp plan was approved, so it's hard to judge this one in that regard. It would make it logical though. That said, like I said, it is in the rural place type. So current zoning map amendment standards. Is consistent with the comp plan and any other adopted county plans. Again, the comp plan is out of date. New Highway 109 has been constructed at this location. Does it address a demonstrated community need? That indicates that there is a need for this type of service in the area. I know anecdotally, my office does get a lot of calls, a lot of interest from folks in the construction business that are trying to look for places to open a business in the county. And that's essentially what the niche that I believe they're trying to fill. I'll let them speak to that in more detail. But whether to the extent that it's appropriate for the zoning district, it will be located in proximity to Highway 9. Again, there is a Dollar General next to it. This is part of an overall approved PUD that has been in place. But that said, they are seeking to expand it. They are seeking to add a parcel to it, so it does merit discussion. But it results in a logical and orderly development pattern. Again, it is along the major state highway inside the county, primary arterial roadway, and it does have commercial uses near it. Would it encourage development prior to the availability of necessary services and infrastructure? Water services available, hydrants exist already, and there's one, I believe it was installed during the Dollar General project. Septic service is understood to be available. Again, it's next to a major road. Would it result in the creation of an isolated zoning district? It would not. There already is a PUD zoning district right here in the vicinity, and there is a commercial use ongoing right now in the vicinity. Adverse impacts as far as property values, we haven't received any appraisal, and so this court case here tells us that you can't take anybody saying that the property values are going to go down. You can't take that into account unless somebody's furnished an appraisal, and that's just that's the way the courts look at that. Would it result in adverse impacts to the natural environment, water, air, noise, stormwater management, wetlands, natural functioning of the environment? We wouldn't anticipate any because all the county's requirements are met as far as buffering and that kind of thing, lighting. That said, we want to work closely with the applicant on the installation of buffering and that kind of thing to be cognizant of any concerns that any neighbors might have as far as noise and that sort of thing on site. And access has been addressed by that. So we did go out and take pictures on the 13th of the subject property. This is Roberts Road looking forward, Highway 9. Again, you can see where the road has been widened here. This is Dollar General building. Looking down, and you can see there are residential uses which abut the subject property. This is in general, this is the area where this is supposed to occur. So next steps, I know y'all heard this several times, it goes to legislative and the full county commission. Once the rezoning is approved, it is approved, then a site plan will need to be submitted to the planning commission. And we do require zoning compliance certificates and that kind of thing for anybody that's going to actually move into one of these buildings. So, Chairman, there's example motions on the screen to provide a positive, negative recommendation or to defer. And I believe there are some folks that are signed up to speak on this one. Mr. Chairman, the first person that signed up is Mr. Robert Eads. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I live at 141 West Roberts Road. If you bring the map back up, you'll see it. I just built a house 2 years ago. That's our property right to the right of the barn, not the White House, the one before that. But all that water, all that land, is all that, you don't see an elevation drawing, but that elevation, all that water has to come straight across my property. When I built that property and everything, I went to had the engineering come out. They told me to size some culverts so I wouldn't have water stand in front of me. And we put a culvert by their sizing all the way across the front of our property to keep it from ponding. Me and my neighbor was working together to try and keep that water drained. We keep it drained now pretty good. If this goes in, it'll be mostly concrete. There's no place for that water to run, and my piping will no longer be the size needed to drain this water across. Everything there, like I said, elevation, if you look at it, all goes to our property. Now, where he's already got his other up top, then we have 7.5 acres of available right now for commercial property up there. There's 2.5 acres beside the dollar store that faces 109, and there's another 5 behind it. Why we need another 5 acres? Because we got a nice community out there. We don't need no more community out there right now. As far as, we want residential, we have a nice residential neighborhood. As far as a community need, I don't really see that we have a community need for anything else out there. We've already got commercial property out there to be developed. But my biggest concern is the water, and my property's right next door to it, and I was planning my retirement there, and that's gonna be where I was gonna do a wind farm. That's all I have.
Mr. Chairman, the next person signed up to speak is Stacy Smalley.
Hello, everybody. Might sound like something, I've been there for 45 years, I've lived on this road. I came up here and spoke before they put the dollar store up here. I didn't want it there. I still don't want it there. Y'all approved it, I did. We're playing Russian roulette every time we pull out on our highway out there. Talking about trucks, he's talking about trucks coming to buy this place. Either y'all are more than welcome to come on my road any given day and try to pull out on 109 right now. Try it. It's just like a gauntlet. It's all good and fine. Everybody up on top of this road up here has water. They have city water. He's talking about water coming across his property. Well, I live on down to the bottom. 45 years I've lived there. It's washed out my property maybe twice before the dollar store came in. Since the dollar store came in, you're saying it's been there a year. Since they started developing this property, I've had to put my driveway back in 3 times. Who's going to help me do that? Is anybody here going to help me put my driveway back in? No. I don't have city water. I stood right here in the same very spot telling y'all before y'all put that up there. I don't have city water. Everything that runs off there, I get from a spring that's runoff from this place. I do. Nobody helps me. White House Utility doesn't run down through there. White House Utility only runs to the subdivision and it stops. All these other people that's probably going to be speaking to you, they have city water. I do not. I just don't see where we need this. If there's a need for it, there's a whole town that's up there. Portland's up there, Gallatin's down here, you got Hendersonville. You can put all this stuff anywhere else, but we do not need it in our residential area up here. I mean, I don't know what else I can say. I'm having to drink every bit of water that's coming off of all of this runoff is coming right by me. And he's telling you the truth whenever he's telling you that his driveway's washing out. You wait till it gets to my house. I live at the very bottom of the hill. I can't get the county to come out there and help me any. And I was nice enough to let the county come down there and put a driveway for the school bus to even turn around on my property. My property, because nobody else wanted the school bus to turn around. Yet the county will not help me at all in situations like this. That's all I'm asking. I mean, is a little help.
Mr. Chairman, the next person signed up to speak is John Allen. John Allen? If I pronounced it right, I'm sorry.
That's the next.
Oh, was it for? The next person signed up is Daniel Samoyla.
Hello, everyone. I am one of the residents in the neighborhood across the street. From this potential development, I do think a lot of the photos failed to portray the locality directly across from this. I am 140 West Roberts Road. I will be directly across the street from this. When my wife and I moved out to Portland and grew up my entire life in Hendersonville, we definitely were happy and excited at the idea of living somewhere rural and the beautiful sights around it. I do have several concerns with this development. to raise while I'm here. The property value analysis, didn't realize that it would be something provided by the people nearby. The first meeting I was out of town and did not see the letters. I was unable to attend the meeting they hosted, I think, Hilton or whatever. So that would be something to consider, as this would be directly from going, a rural farmland straight across from my front yard, where my house is, to a large construction-related facility with gravel lots, from what you told me. As far as the landscape buffering, I think Dollar General is a good example of why that is not very reassuring. The current landscape buffer for Dollar General has been kind of neglected. I can provide photos of some of the property Dollar General is on, getting overgrown and the trees just looking decrepit and terrible. So that doesn't give me reassurance that the same property will be maintained in the same way. Unsurprisingly, it is cleaned up currently. In the past 3 months, it got cleaned up. But I will tell you, the property was neglected, and I don't feel comfortable knowing that the same developer will be managing this new property, where there's already quite a bit of commercial land available in the first place. I believe someone mentioned earlier, along 109, there's 5 acres back there, away from any residential property that was recently for sale. And it does call to question why this would be built directly next to the first gentleman who spoke, and then directly across from the street from a neighborhood full of what I would consider middle-class families, people who represent Sumner County. Many people have been there for many years, including the neighbors here. They've been there since 1998. So for me, I don't see why it makes sense. Yeah, you did bring up that we need to have valid reasons why this would not be approved. As far as like Sumner County development, I've been here since I was 3 years old. I've seen a lot of awesome projects come in that made sense, that improved the lives of people around here. I grew up in Henderson. We can all point to how great Hendersonville has been changed and how much has gone on. But for me, I guess it's easy for me to say as the next door neighbor to this, no, but it just doesn't make sense. Let me make sure I didn't forget any points. Sorry, guys. Noise. With the landscape buffering being as lackluster as I would say it is, I really am concerned about the noise that would be developed from a property that's mainly going to be commercial and construction related, an auto mechanic shop. I mean, this is going to be literally 200, 300 feet from my house. And with all the concerns entail, I really think it would affect my and my wife's quality of life living there. I mean, for us, we're barely able to afford a house to begin with. And, for me, wanting to raise a family, like, it's just not something I would want right there. So, all that being said, one last thing, sorry, I know I keep mentioning a lot. Forgive me for not knowing the standards of Sumner County rules and stuff. With the retention pond being directly across the street, I'm just curious if there is some kind of code in place of making sure they're not going to be just a breeding ground for mosquitoes. We already have a lot of mosquitoes in our neck of the woods just because we are rural, and I would worry about how that would affect where we're at. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, the next person signed up to speak, and I'm sorry, I'm not sure we're in the last name. David, is it House or Hayes? Hayes.
I forgot to mention, we're trying to stay no more than 5 minutes on the conversation, so, thank you.
All right.
Yes.
I'm David Hayes. I'm from John. Lived there in the neighborhood for 25 years, and pictures of the property, but not what is across the street, which is our residential area, our neighborhood. And, Dollar General moved in, it was like, well, you know, that's not so bad, we can handle that. And then the automotive repair shop, it was kind of like, well, okay, you know, it can be something we can live with. But now, you're talking about this big industrial park is basically what it sounds like it's going to wind up being, especially if they buy more adjoining property. And the amount of 18-wheelers that go up and down 109 on a daily basis, because it is a bypass. All the truckers have learned that that's the quickest way around Nashville and around traffic. So our little 109 has turned into just a major interstate as far as most people are concerned. There's no traffic lights. We've seen a lot of major accidents out there. A couple of, you know, semis coming into Dollar General, that's normal. You know, they're even shorter than most semis. But to allow all these new businesses, which are going to be bringing in 18-wheelers, which means they're going to be stopping on 109, there's no deceleration lanes, like what y'all mentioned earlier. And like I said, we've seen people just trying to turn into the Dollar General that have gotten rear-ended in pretty major accidents there. So, you know, there's too many other places that could support this type of rezoning or this type of businesses. You know, instead of out there where we're at, I see major problems heading this way, especially if 109 is not fixed or corrected, you know. I mean, that's the only access is our street, in or out of the place. So, and like I said, drainage is also a problem. I'm right across the street from this man that spoke earlier about the drainage. I'm right across the street, I see it every day. And when it rains, it floods, and then it becomes a pond out in front of his yard. So there's just so many reasons not to do it there, you know. You've got too many other places that are better suited. And I thank you for listening to me. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, the next person signed up is Corey Nelson.
I'm actually the applicant, so if there's anyone else that needs to speak before.
Let's just see it. We're right out here.
Oh, yeah. It's Corey Nelson with 615 Design Group. Happy to answer any of your guys' questions, but I do want to address some of the questions that were brought forth from the community as it relates to the drainage. As you can tell, we are providing two what we call dry ponds, which means they don't have standing water. What they do is they allow water events to occur in there. They go through what you call a outlet structure, and you're supposed to lower the flows from every storm event. So basically there would be less, obviously as we know, the coordinates we're supposed to improve or not to harm the existing drainage that is there. If you look at the northern detention pond, if you want to pull that up, it is in line with where, if you look at it, actually just look at the picture, where that depression is right where that detention pond would be, which would in line with this culvert. So we would be collecting that on our site and slowly letting that out. If you want to go back, I think forward one more. Yeah, right there, where that depression right there is, because that is the low point where we need to install the detention pond. And then
There was a pond back in the day. There was a pond there when I was a kid. So,
Yeah, what we'll be doing.
my biggest concern is, okay, guys, hold the water
I
back.
apologize, but we can't.
I mean,
But, yeah, but we will not be having, we're not even allowed to have what you call standing water there. So we would be having a dry pond with an outlet compound structure that would facilitate all the water there. Our building is located quite a bit ways from the road, and it's utilizing the Dollar General shared access point. We provided street screening as well as the type 2 line buffer for visibility through there. I know right now that with the Dollar General in place right now, speaking with landscaping, that is an ongoing development, so that would be with Dollar General to provide landscaping and with us, with the PUD, to provide the outward boundary for landscaping for these two properties. So I think that also addresses the mosquito concern, as what we call it's a dry pond, so therefore there will not be standing water or some kind of permanent pond structure there. As far as the need, this is to serve the local community. If you look at the allowable uses on there, it is for people who are either in sales of some kind of automotive equipment, parts. I know it's kind of blurry, and maybe my eyes are just really bad. But this is not heavy industrial. This is not for trucks coming in every day. Maybe a standard box truck, which is one of those single axle ones like we'd see almost like an Amazon kind of package. But this is keeping within the existing PUD that was approved and the uses. But I think that addresses, I would say, the most of the residential questions and concerns. I was wondering if there's any concerns from staff.
Josh, did you say it was gravel parking lot?
Not sure, they do paved. They do asphalt or concrete.
Okay. Any questions? Okay. Yeah. And that area is an island in between the two?
Yes.
That'll be landscaped?
Yes, there'll be internal landscaping there. The landscaping that you see right now is to coincide with the adjoining properties.
Mm-hmm.
So we have the rural residential on both the back side and on what the plan view left side would be. But there has to be internal landscaping, and we would have to follow the city's ordinances with that. And when we provide that site plan, that is what will be submitted for that.
Those buildings are how big?
Right now, it's 10,000 for the flex space, and then we allow on the front, you see that little box out?
Right.
That's about $1,250 for office.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, someone, if, let's say they had HVAC parts that they're selling, they have a little office space that they can utilize, and then it acts as space to utilize for the building, but it'd probably be one for each. Yeah.
And I saw they were 20-something feet tall, wasn't it?
I think 25 feet with the right there. I think it's about 25 feet.
27.
Yeah, right there. And then we do allow, as we show, loading in the back for any potential trucks. That would be for use as needed.
Yeah, it's actually taller than 27.
I can't see right now.
Yeah, it's like a 4.
25 and 8, it looks like.
Okay.
Yeah. I believe that if you look at the existing PUD, I think they have a use for 35 feet tall, and I think we're keeping in line with that. We're below that.
All right. No questions? Jim?
Oh, and just by the way, the septic areas have been evaluated. Initial was good, and we're getting final soils analysis right now. We're at the grid staking. So, if there's any questions about that.
I have a comment. Some of you have heard me talk about the fact that we export 50,000 people outside the county on a daily basis to work. So the project is appropriate, but I think it's not right for this area at the moment. So even though I will not be voting, I wanted to say that as much as I like the project, I have to listen to the homeowners, and there's a small development of 1-acre houses across the street that's 20-something lots. I don't know how old or how established that neighborhood is, but, like I say, I like the project a lot. And I think it is something Sumner County needs. I'm just not sure it's the right area for it. So that's all I have to say.
Are you ready for a motion? I completely agree. I think it's a great project. I just don't think it needs to be right in the middle of this residential area. I know there's dollars in there, there's already some, but the people spoke, and I would like to make a recommendation number 2.
I'll second that.
I have a question. Maybe you know, maybe you don't. Maybe you don't know all of it. I know that part of Highway 109, and I've heard of excavators on trailers getting away from the truck and stuff. Is anybody, TDOT or anybody addressing some of those issues? Because I can see where at the angle that Roberts Road hits that 109, that could be desperate. Is there any, has your caught anything TDOT stopped?
Well, I guess are you, referring to like a potential traffic signal or anything?
Well, I hope we don't get into traffic signals on 109 because it is an expressway, right, more or less. But a slow down ramp might be, and on all of those areas that are heading downhill. Is there anything
Essentially like a deceleration line.
deceleration lane?
That's something that, the planning commission could, if these guys want to come back or something, it looks like it's going to get at this point, a negative recommendation, if they want to propose that, they could. The issue is that TDOT's got to say yes. And so it could certainly be something that the county would require, for them to put in a deceleration lane or something for the northbound traffic turning in. But if TDOT won't allow it, can't happen. Essentially, it's their road. The county can't dictate anything on the state road. But that's something that could be looked at. Again, it's been a couple years since that's been looked at.
I think you just answered my question. They're probably not going to want to pay for it.
Oh, TDOT's not going to pay for it for sure. But it would be at any rate, it would be done by the developer's expense.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Chris?
Even if this goes or not, that's still something that needs to be addressed with TDOT. Sorry.
To be addressed with TDOT, because it sounds like with the Dollar General there and that subdivision there, it's dangerous. One of the gentlemen said that people are getting around it, the speed limit's, what, 55 at least there? So.
It's a very common issue.
The truth is that people go a lot faster than 55 just because of gravity. So, okay, that's all. I wanted to be my pursue that.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any other questions on it, comments? Go ahead with the roll call, Jack.
Commissioner Hall? Mr. Miller? Mr. Williams?
Three.
That was a negative recommendation of 3-0.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Item 5, Riggs Hollow subdivision for their plan.
Yes, sir. This is a 4-lot subdivision. It was initially submitted a few months ago. It was turned in, I don't know if everybody remembers this particular one. We've been having tracked it for a while now, but I believe it was turned in back in June, thereabouts. And soil work hadn't been done on it or anything. The planning commission requested that the applicant go ahead and get that done because there's steep slopes. The subdivision, I think planning commission got like some more houses was needed on it. So they went back to their soil scientists and got that done. They got it turned in this month. They came back as a 5-lot subdivision instead of 4 lots because it wouldn't work for 5. But it's on a 5.46 acre piece of property, Ridge Road, Happy Hollow Road, rural residential. William P.I. Smith is the project surveyor and engineer. That indicates that there's some trailer house and some other stuff on the site that's to be removed. Again, it was deferred for a number of months so they can work on these issues on the applicant's request. And again, it's a 4-lot subdivision now instead of 5. subject property. It is a couple of parcels, and so it's this parcel here, and I drew in this one here as well. And so it's this whole property, but not this one. This is a separate. So this is the preliminary plat that was approved. Kind of zoom in on that a little bit. You got, we found on lot 1, lot 2, lot 3, lot 4. They all have little stars on them. That means they're critical lots. Due to slope issues, they all contain slopes in excess of 15%. And so they are critical lots, which means an individual building plan has to be turned in to the county engineer to be approved, showing exactly where the house is going to go, and how it's going to be graded, and all those other issues. And so we do enforce that at the building permit stage of the plat. The one issue on this one, this would be something that state law would allow the staff to approve administratively, if the county opted into those regulations. Right now, we approve 2 lots subdivisions administratively. We can do up to 5 per state law, but this one does have an issue that would make the subject staff could approve it administratively. Public water is available for these lots. We do have a water availability letter from White House Utilities. However, per current requirements, when this application initially came through, the county was accepting in lieu of payments for fire hydrants. When hydrant couldn't be installed, that's just been done away with, and so that's not in effect anymore. And so right now you have to install a fire hydrant for major subdivisions, 3 lots or more, or have one in proximity. All lots have to be within 500 feet of the hydrant. And so a waiver or a variance would be required in order for these lots to be approved, and that's Article 3, Section N of the county subdivision regulations. That deals with fire hydrants. But other than that, adequate right-of-way is indicated. We need to be dedicated with the final plat. Lot visiting requirements, they have turned in the erosion prevention sediment control plan and the drainage report with a certificate from the engineer that there's no drainage impact. They are critical lots. That is routine with my office. We do a lot of critical lot plan reviews, so it's not something that gives us any heartburn. But it is something that does cost money for that to put together, and there's a review fee for that. This is the engineer certification that there's no drainage impact in this development. It is in the suburban place type, and so the suburban place type does call for 1 unit per 1 acre. And again, this is 4 lots on 5 acres, so it does meet that requirement. It does comply with the comp plan. And so our findings of fact here, and we look at for plat reviews and site plan reviews. It is in agreement, it is consistent with the comprehensive plan. It does not contravene the purposes for zoning or subdivision regulations. We're not creating adverse effects upon adjoining property owners that we're aware of. It's not something that's a crooked deal or anything where one person's got to benefit to the detriment of people across the county. The project is just a subdivision plan. Next steps, if this preliminary plat is approved this evening, it would be a final plat approved. Construction plans would need to be approved by the county engineer. There's no issue with that. Any state permits, I don't know whether this would actually need, now that they reduce one of the lots out, I don't know whether it would need any state permits, notice of coverage or anything. Critical lot plan reviews, as I said. Once the critical lot plan is approved, then they can start taking permits and building houses on these lots. And so, Mr. Chairman, there's example motions on the screen. A would be to find all county requirements are met and to approve a preliminary plat with the following conditions. And those would be approval by the county engineer on the construction plans as they are, notice coverage if they needed, critical lot plans must be submitted, and there would be a variance that would be granted or a waiver to fire hydrant requirements. And that's what would make all county requirements met, because you'd be granted that hydrant exception or a waiver, basically. Other options would be to deny it due to non-compliance. And again, there is an area of non-compliance if the county wants to enforce the current rules. They did apply under a different set of rules, but if the county wants to enforce the rules we have in those today, then the planning commission does, and that would be grounds for a denial of the plat. And then to defer it, I would advise deferring plats very much, unless you really have to. It is necessary sometimes, but you do. The clock is ticking. State law does say that plats get approved automatically after several times. So that was my presentation, Mr. Chairman. There was one person on a previous sign-up sheet that had signed up to speak on this item. That was John. Yeah, John Hammond.
My question would be, maybe I'm missing it here, but the fire hydrant, we don't have water in the street that's a big enough pipe.
So what White House Utilities has said in their letter, it's up on the screen there, they said it's hard to read, so I'll read it out. It says, White House Utilities is existing 6-inch water mains located on the south side of North Happy Hollow Road and east side of Bridge Road can provide domestic water flows for this project. However, they cannot supply the requested fire protection because there's not adequate pressure and residual pressure in the line. We have that from time to time across the county where water's available for drinking, but you have to, there's a 500 gallon per minute flow rate that's required by the state for a hydrant to be put on, and a 20 psi residual pressure. So that means when you turn on the hydrant, you got 500 gallons a minute coming out, and it maintains a 20 psi residual pressure on the line. If you can't maintain that, you can't put a hydrant on.
Any questions from the committee? Okay. Thank you. Is there any discussion of anything? Okay, go ahead.
Number 3, tonight for the lack of the fire hydrants, and we just pass that through the commission and it's a big deal. I've been very careful about it for verifying that, so that's one of
Give the second. Any discussion on the motion? Go ahead, Karen. It's a 3-0. Okay. Passes unanimously, item 3. Thank you. Item 6. Bakersville preliminary plat.
Yes, sir. And that one will withdraw by the applicant.
Oh.
Yes, sir. So it's on one.
Item 7, Highland Hills subdivision preliminary plat.
Yes, sir. This is a proposed 5 residential building lot preliminary plat. This is a large city property. You see what's shown on the preliminary plat is 5 building lots. And so, Mr. Klein and I had this conversation today. Anything less than 5 acres has to be planted. And so there's 5 lots that are less than 5 acres, 1 acre lots basically. Those have to be filed as a subdivision plat. The remainder 5 tracts are much larger than 5 acres. They don't have to be planted, so that is just shown along the back for informational purposes. This is located along Bun Mill Road and Apple Branch Road, rural residential. It's zoning. It's owned by Tiffany Gurney and Thomerson. Richard Gray to the project. I apologize, I had a typo. The actual survey here is Zach Wilkinson, who told me this was a typo, and I forgot to correct it. The project engineer is regular design. This is the context here. You see it's outside of the city of Portland. Aerial view of the property, you see there is a floodplain to the north. What's proposed to be subdivided is down here on the south. This is the sketch plat that was initially approved by the Planning Commission some time ago, back in 2022. Then another sketch plat was approved by the Planning Commission in February that showed that a rural estate cross-section was proposed with much larger lots. The lots here were basically the same as what's proposed now. This is not moving forward. The builder who was going to do this, they had their reasons for not doing that. Obviously, financially rewarded. This is the preliminary plat that's been turned in. You see it gets a little bit busy. This hatched area is the floodplain. This is just topo lines. These are the lots that are under consideration here. We'll zoom in on those. Yeah. Okay. So these 2 lots right here have already been platted by Richard Gray, which is our that he was the surveyor on these 2 lots. Greenlee is bringing in the remainder of the road frontage here to divide the rest of it. 6-inch water line is located along the southern road frontage here. 1 fire hydrant will be necessary. White House has told us that adequate pressure exists, and they do have that hydrant indicated on the plat. All lots are within 500 feet of the hydrant, and so the hydrant requirements by the county are met. You would be on septic tanks. You see the soil, septic soil areas down here on the lots. And as I mentioned earlier, TDEC is in charge of that. They issue those septic permits. These new lots are proposed along Athlon Branch Road, which is a 16-foot pavement width at this location. There are no road improvements proposed by the applicant. That could be a discussion the planning commission can have. These kind of short segment road frontage improvements, just frankly, sometimes they cause more problems than they solve. They disrupt the drainage network and that kind of thing. But that's certainly something that we can talk with the Greenwood folks about. Drainage plans and all calculations have been provided. Those are under review by the county engineer. So this is in the suburban place type, which, as we talked about a little while ago, does call for 1 unit per 1 acre. So that would this application would meet that. It is in agreement with the comprehensive plan. It doesn't contravene the purposes of zoning or subdivision regulations. And it's applicable with our requirements as far as I've been able to determine. It's not going to create any adverse effects on any property owners as far as we can tell. It's not something where one person benefits to the detriment of the whole county. Next steps, county engineer approves the engineering documents, construction plans, and all that stuff. Once that's done, they can come back for final plat approval. There's no infrastructure requirements or anything in this time. After the plat is approved by the planning commission, it will be recorded, and they can sell lots and issue building permits for the county on the lots. And so, Mr. Chairman, there's example motions on the screen. One being to find that all the county's requirements are met and to approve this plat. Contingent upon the county engineer approving the plans, any TDEC permits that might be needed. This one will probably need notice of coverage prior to issuance of the permits by the county. That's number one. Number two would be to deny it for some kind of non-compliance with any subdivision standards. We've none jumped out at us when we review this, or to defer if there's additional questions. I don't believe we have anybody sign up to speak on this one, Mr. Chairman, but the applicant's representative is back. Yes, sir.
So if the 16-foot wide road is substandard,
Yes.
Do you or Marshall have any thoughts on that?
It's, as I said, the county doesn't have a plan in place to widen that road. If we did, it was part of our major thoroughfare plan or something to widen it. Certainly it would need to be. As I mentioned, widening the road, sometimes that's well intentioned. We had a development a while back in the highway department, previous road superintendent wanted the road widened on Halltown Road. And I think it was 16 foot, I think is what it was, and they wanted several more feet added onto it. And it was good, they did it, and then all that, but when you have a situation where the road is this wide and then it goes to narrower, sometimes the drainage network, not always, sometimes it works fine, it seems to work okay in other places, but in that instance, it makes us a little bit more worried about these kind of spot widenings, because the ditch basically has to change its direction, and it causes some flood issues and that kind of thing. And so it would be good if the county used to be able to do something similar to this, where we would basically be able to get an impact fee or an in lieu of payment to the county to use for road projects across the county. That was something the county was able to do years and years ago, about the time they did that facilities tax, but the builder sued, and the county had to give all that money back after that. And so it put us in a little bit of a quandary on these kinds of things as far as widenings and that kind of stuff. But it's an engineering decision. So
Well, go to the either the site plan or do we have an aerial view?
yes, sir.
Okay, so we're coming up to a three-way intersection. It's kind of a jog, actually. So I'm and obviously we haven't had any neighbors speak about it, because really anything that will be affected along that way is farmland, looks to be. But, you know, if it were widened at the first lot, then it would be going into an intersection. I'm just suggesting maybe that the widening would work in its favor rather than against it. It's just a thought. You have any thoughts on that?
Yes, sir, Zach Baker, Movement Design. As far as widening, I cannot make that call tonight. I will have to discuss with the owner. So if that's going to be a condition, I'm afraid I'm going to have to request a deferral.
Well, that was, I don't know that it'll be a condition, but I was just, you know, see if that was a possibility. Any questions?
I think I have a question. I noticed that you said 2 lots were approved before. When was that?
That was, I'm gonna say it was about a year and a half ago, probably, maybe 2 years ago, but it's definitely been between 1 and 2 years ago.
And just, I couldn't see well, but what are the size of the lot? Are they
Oh,
just over an acre? Or?
I'm sorry, yeah, these are, lot 5 is 0.94 acres, or sorry, lot 5 is 0.94, lot 4 is 0.92, 3 is 0.92, then it skips to lot 7 is 0.98, and lot 6 is 2.46 acres. That one right there is.
So they're under an acre?
Yeah,
Yes, yeah, the minimum lot size is 40,000 square
Yeah.
foot,
Okay.
yeah, so they just cleared.
which is allowed by design. And so that's, that is within their right to create lot size.
And there's more residential on the other side, I believe. Can you go back to that area? Yeah, okay. Oh, but they're not built?
Some are, some are. I wish I had a better area for you.
David, I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, I was looking at the subdivision on the other, west side of, is that Happy Hollow?
Yes, that's Apple Branch Road right there, and that's Happy Hollow.
And it looks like they're roughly 1 acre lots as well, 0.92 are bigger.
Okay, that's right.
But primarily it's all farmland out there. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
All right, it's motion time.
Well, I tend to agree with you about the road. It looks like if that road was widened, did you say if we wanted to make that a conditional use, you would prefer a deferral?
Yes, ma'am, I'd rather discuss with the owner. I do not want to make that call on their behalf.
Okay.
And so when the applicant requests a deferral, you know, I talked about the clock is ticking for state law, when the applicant requests a deferral, the clock stops ticking.
Okay.
So they can defer for 6 months if they want to, as long as they have this to work
Then I'll
out.
make a motion for number 3.
And I'll second that.
Any questions on the motion? Go ahead, Kathy.
Commissioner Williams? Commissioner Miller? And Mr. Williams?
Okay. Unanimous for deferral on that one. All right, item 8, Shiloh Ridge Farm Estates preliminary plat.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, this plat depicts 37 residential building lots and several lots of common open space across 40, a little over 40 acres. It's depicted as occurring over the course of 2 phases. All these lots are at least 1 acre, so I don't think there's a lot in development that's less than 1 acre, other than the open space lots. The subdivision proposes to subdivide this whole tract that you see here across 2 phases. This is located along Pleasant Grove Road. It's rural residential. Water services provided by Westmoreland Public Utilities. It's owned by David and Derek Bandy. Rich Graves is the project engineer. Project engineer is Jake Vincent. The Planning Commission did approve a sketch plan for this item in January of 2021. We no longer have sketch plans, and so there is no exploration for sketch plans either, but it has been a couple of years since the sketch was approved. But the applicant did make design decisions based on that sketch that was approved by the Planning Commission. This is an aerial photo. You see much of it is row crop here, and there is some wooded area in the back. This is that sketch that was approved. I believe it actually had 38 lots. So they reduced their lot count went down just a little bit for one lot to accommodate some open space that they had to do for a creek and that kind of thing. Again, there's that preliminary plat that's been turned in, 37 lots total. Public water to be provided by West One Public Utilities. They did furnish that availability letter. Our hydrant requirements are here to be met on the preliminary plat, and then the availability letter, all lots that are proposed, look like they're within 500 feet of hydrant. These lots, they're not going to be in the city, and so they're not going to connect to public sewer. They are on septic systems. They have provided a soil map, and the septic areas are shaded on the preliminary plat. Actual right-of-way is indicated along Pleasant Grove Road. We require 30 feet from the center line on Pleasant Road. There are 2 future county roads that are proposed to be constructed, Kenny Boulevard and Jacks Road. There's a 50-foot right-of-way that's shown for those and 22-foot pavement width. So this is full cross-section is proposed to be built within the subdivision. A traffic impact study has been provided. We did discuss that since the road is kind of, there's a lot going on upstream from it and downstream, so we wanted to have a look and see if any additional road improvements would be warranted per the traffic study. And all the lot widths do meet requirements of 150 feet wide along Pleasant Grove Road. Drainage, we do have a full set of construction plans and drainage calculations that have been provided in support of this application. That are under review by the county engineer at this time. They will need a notice of coverage and an ARAP, Aquatic Resource Operation Permit for this. We're not there yet. That's usually, they start getting that paperwork done after they get the preliminary plat approved. They did furnish a wetland evaluation. They did furnish a hydrologic determination that would determine any streams on the plat. Those are indicated. The property does generally drain up to the north. They're not indicating detention on the plat. And the reason for that, we see this from time to time when you convert a piece of property from row crop, where it's in corn or soybeans or whatever, when you convert that, the calculations that the engineers do, that actually, they show a decrease in surface runoff when you convert that to the yard side, basically. And so they're not showing any detention at this time. There are several lots that need to be shown as critical lots due to some drainage features on the site. They go through the lines. There's some drainage creek easements and that kind of thing that go through the lines. So those would be critical lots. And all the requirements of our stormwater management resolution need to be met during construction and plans. Overall, I will say this is about as thorough of a submittal as we've ever received for a plat submittal with the hydrologic determinations, wetland evaluations, traffic study, soil map approved and signed by the soil scientists for the whole property. There really isn't anything that we asked for that they didn't provide. So we would appreciate that. The comprehensive plan indicates it, I don't have to zoom in here, but it is in the Westmoreland urban growth boundary, so it's in the suburban place site, which again calls for one lot per 1 acre, or 1 unit per 1 acre development. Again, all these lots they do have to all be over 1 acre. So it does comply with the comprehensive plan. It doesn't contravene the purposes for zoning or subdivision regulations, and it is consistent with all the county's requirements. And it does appear to comply with everything we can throw at it as far as wetland evaluations and streams and everything else. They've crossed their T's and dotted their I's with this application. It's as designed. It should not create adverse effects on adjoining property owners. County engineers reviewing the construction plans right now. There are some things that he's looking at with the engineers as far as to culvert down on the southern part of the project, and that's something that we worked out between the engineers as we go through the construction plan review process. No one owner would benefit from this to the detriment of the general public. Next steps. Again, the construction plans have to be approved by the county engineer, get all the state permits. After the construction plans are approved and those state permits are issued, that's when they come to my office and they schedule a pre-construction meeting with myself, the county stormwater manager, the county engineer. We would invite the where we on the same page about how construction proceeds. They obtain an service permit from the county. Once we issue that permit, they start grading the site. That's when they put the road in, grade in any ponds that might need to be built. And we'll inspect, obviously, through that whole process. That's what we do. We check the road every step of the way, although anything else that has to be put in. And so once that road is in and everything's done, that's when they can come back with a final plat to the planning commission. And they post surety for anything that remains, stop over the road and that kind of thing. So, Mr. Chairman, there's example motions there on the screen. First would be to find that all county requirements are met, to approve this preliminary plat, contingent upon county engineer, the approval of construction plans, installation of all the road and drainage infrastructure upon substantial completion before any final plat comes back, and submittal of as-built drawings prior to the recording of that final plat. That concludes my presentation. Mr. Graves, the surveyor, is in attendance, and Mr. Jacobs, the engineer, is as well. And I don't think anybody signed up for this one about that.
Judge, I have a question. The 30 foot from Center Road to end of right of way, determines that? Is that a?
It's in our comprehensive plan.
Okay, so is that based on traffic calculation?
It's based on the classification of the road. So this is a minor collector road, is how we classify it. And so it's not something that, there's different organizations. TDOT has its own functional classification list. I don't think this road is classified by TDOT as any a major collector where they start really getting into things for funding and that kind of thing. And so we classify it as a minor collector roadway. And that's because it basically, in one way or another, it connects two state routes. And so that makes it a minor collector too.
If I'm reading between the lines, this is a class by right project.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The tree area, the forested area, is there any creeks in there?
Yes, sir. So, I'll get it pulled up here. So we can just, I'm trying to visualize where the trees are there, you see there, and when we look over, their stream determination did show this feature right here. It's basically a ditch. That goes through there. And there's what we call a CBE, a creek buffer easement, will need to be shown there. They do have this lot up here where you have more managed features is set aside as open space, as you can see. This is not built a lot.
So that only has water when it's raining.
Right. That's my understanding. I would have to defer to Mr. Vincent, the engineer on the developers team, about the characteristics of streams and that kind of thing.
Okay, and then I'm assuming it starts at the south and works its way north.
Yes, sir. That's my understanding. The property primarily drains south north, I think. So there is some that drains down here. And again, we've got a question whether we're on a culvert down here that we're going to look for.
Well, so we've got a cul-de-sac up on the north end there.
Yes, sir.
What happens to the water if the sheet flows towards the north?
I believe, and again, I won't have to defer to Mr. Vincent, but I believe what they're trying to do this thing is to have the water make its way to that creek, and then to get into that creek and be carried away from the site.
And so it drains onto other people's property.
That's right. That's right. And so again, their drainage calculations show an overall reduction. That's based on the change in the use from road rock to yards. I said the exact same question. I was talking to Mr. Boyd about it today. That's what their calculations show. They do have that area set aside as open space. I don't know if there's any likelihood of a pond needing to be put in there. But we can bring their engineer to talk about it.
Yeah. Okay. I think that goes on to a 5-acre parcel next door, and then another 5. So I'm not sure where the creek runs, but okay. Is that something that would be determined during the engineering process?
Yes. Yes.
So if there will be a capacity issue, that will be determined by calculations, and it will be determined if there has to be
a detention pond. That's correct.
Which would probably lose a lot.
That might.
Yeah, they might. Okay.
And that's allowable through the process, to reduce lots as a minor, we call it a minor or preliminary plat amendment, or something like that we're at.
And all fire hydrants and are accounted for?
Yes, sir, I believe they are all reflected on the plat,
Okay,
along Pleasant Road, and interior to the side.
okay. All right, that's all my questions. Any other questions? You think, well, does anybody have a motion?
I'll make a motion, against what I believe in my heart, but, I feel like that they've done all the work and, anyway, so, for number one.
Number one. Do we have a second? Second, Chrissy. No. Go ahead, Kathy.
Commissioner Miller? Mr. Williams?
Passes unanimously. Thank you, everybody. Okay. 9, the landing at Brand Mill. Go ahead, Mr. Sumner.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, this is a development that the planning commission has seen on this property anyway a number of times. I thought about this a little, but there's only so many slides. But it's come up a number of times over the years, over the last couple of years. The applicant for this development before the planning commission this evening is Shell Brothers, represented by C.J. Morrell, 615 Design Group. This is located on Brown Mill Road. It's zone rural residential, which does allow 40,000 square foot minimum lot size. The proposal contains 23 lots and 66 acres. So what they've elected to do at their choice was to pursue our rural estate cross section, which does require a lot about 2.5 times bigger than the minimum lot size. But in exchange for that, essentially there's less infrastructure required, so they don't have to do sidewalks or curb or anything, and there's a narrow right-of-way width. So they have to pursue that rural estate cross section. Utilities, Cascade Springs, Bethpage, utility district is the water provider. Electric is coming on electric, sewer, septic tanks, no sewer available in this area. And the septic permits are done at the building permit stage. This sketch plat, as everyone may remember, came through the planning commission on August 14th and was approved at that time. They returned with a preliminary plat that is identical to the sketch plat as far as I can tell. There's a couple of minor changes that I will discuss though, that I think are probably the benefit of the project. The name of the development has been changed to the Landing at Brown for Brown Springs. That's just an administrative change. It's a headache for us at the staff level when they change the name to these flats, but they can do that. That's certainly allowable. In its context, you see the Shade Creek is the red area down there to the south. This project primarily drains to the south to the creek, not so much to the north. It might to some extent drain to the north, but this is a development that drains down to the creek. You see there is an existing subdivision. It's not reflected as it actually is on the assessor site. This was divided into acre lots essentially. Yes, a number of years ago by the planning commission. This is the approved sketch plat. That was approved by the planning commission in August. This is the preliminary plat. So again, we talk back and forth here. They've updated some information and that kind of thing, but the overall proposal is basically the same. The biggest changes, I think, or really the only changes that I can think of, is they did require that these lots would need to derive their access from the meter, and so there would be 2 less road accesses directly on the Brand Mill Road. And so that would mean two subdivision lots would have an access on the Brand Mill Road, and these 5-acre tracts, which we really don't regulate. We, for subdivision purposes, they're just showing them to us for, as a courtesy. They could just leave that off if they wanted to, but they are showing the whole property, which we did ask them to do. They did submit architecture. Again, this isn't something that they had to do, but they provided a representative architecture for the site, as well as a set of restricted covenants, which is not a requirement for by right applications like this, but it is good to know. And that information was included in the packet. If the planning commission wants to bring those up, we'll be glad to. I'll take a look at it not necessarily binding, this isn't planning and development where they're getting a new entitlement. They are entitled to what they're proposing to do. But they did want to show what the product's going to look like. County's comprehensive plan here, does reflect right there on the borderland really between the suburban place type here and the rural place type. It kind of sits on this line where it sits. Utilities, fire protection, Cascade Springs, Bethpage, again, availability letters have been provided for this project and previous projects, and it was proposed to be much bigger. County hazard requirements are met. All lots will be within 500 feet of a hydrant. There may be some line upgrades. I've heard conversation that Cascade Springs is going to require the water line to be upsized to 8 inches. If that's the case, then that's between the applicant and the developer. I'm sorry, that's the applicant and the developer rather than the water utility. The water utility can require any improvements to their system that they want, and that's just the way it is. These will be on septic systems, as I said, they have shaded those areas on the plat. Soil work has come back, I've been told, Mr. Moore can speak to that. The soil work has come back positive as far as I've been told. They have dedicated adequate right of way on Brandon Mill Road. Not 30 feet from the center line, actually it's 25 feet from the center line on Brandon Mill Road, but it's not a collector road. There's a future county road that's proposed to be constructed as part of this. That rural state road would be a county roadway. There's a traffic impact study that was provided previously for when the development was a little larger than it is today. It did call for any additional road improvements that being warranted. Subdivision is located along Brandon Mill Road, which is a dead-end street, and so that is something the planning commission discussed at some point during the sketch plat phase. Again, 23 lots. Brandon Mill Road at this location is substandard. It's about 18 feet wide, which is basically the same width as the new road would be, the rural state road that they're proposing to build. This is that road cross section. Again, 18-foot pavement width with 2-foot shoulders, 40-foot right of way. No sidewalks, no curb, no gutter. Very rural. Planning commission did this a couple years ago to really encourage more rural feel to develop, so you don't have kind of the city being plopped down in the county. They have submitted a full set of construction plans and the supporting documentation. Those are under review. They will have to get a notice of coverage and probably an ARAP for some aquatic features that are on site as well. They have provided the wetland evaluation. They have provided the hydrologic determinations. All that stuff is in the packet. All those streams and other areas are either in common open space or buffer easements on the plat. And the requirements of the county stormwater management resolution must be met, during construction and on the construction of this. This is consistent in general with the intent, purpose, and zoning. It does sit on that borderline with the comprehensive plan, where it's a little bit unclear. It does appear to be in the rural place type though. Again, we got that discrepancy that I talked about a little earlier. That was discussed at some length during the sketch plan review. But it does meet our zoning requirements and our subdivision requirements. Adverse impacts on adjoining property owners. There's not as far as, this is a low density residential subdivision of a couple acres that's smaller than other ones that have been approved in the area. Drainage and that kind of thing, again, it drains down to the south. There was some discussion about the developer and the county having a conversation there's drainage pipe in the road across the street from this. It is a little bit problematic. Frankly, that's just not the developer's problem because they don't put any water into it. All that water comes from north of the road down. But the previous developer was open to having a conversation with the county about maybe working with the highway department to do something about that feature. If the planning commission would like us to, I'd like to have that conversation with the new developer as well. I think they're interested in being a good neighbor and solving any kinds of problems like that. So we'd like to have that conversation. Strictly speaking, though, like I said, I don't know that they added that issue, and so I don't know that it is their problem to solve necessarily, but there is a noted drainage issue there where that culvert probably is the undersized. Next steps, as I said, with that previous subdivision construction plan, need to be approved by the county engineer. After TDEC issues any permits, they'll schedule a pre-con meeting with my office. Once we have that, we'll issue a land service permit. And once that permit's issued, they can start grading the site and cutting the road in. Once the road's in and we approve it, then they can file the final plan with you guys. And once that's approved, then they can, that's when they can start selling lots and building houses, but not until. So, Mr. Chairman, there's example motions on the screen. Number one being to find that all county requirements are met, and to approve it contingent upon approval from the county engineer for construction plans, construction of all the infrastructure on the plans prior to going back to final plat, and submit that to the drawing to the final plat as well. And then the other two are to deny it for non-compliance. We don't have any standards necessarily we were able to find that it does not comply with, or to defer it if you need information on anything. Again, the applicant's representative is in attendance. I believe Mr. Tommy Jackson is here to speak on this. I don't know if we have anybody else.
It's Sumner Jackson, I'll try to be brief. 510 Brownwell Road, I live almost to the very end. It's a 1.7 mile rural road that has approximately 1,500 acres of farmland. Most of it's farmland. When I moved in 20, there was probably 61 homes. I think a number of 52 homes have been approved since then. We've had various other neighbors since August 20th of 21 that have attempted builds in that area. I apologize, there's not more people here, but we didn't have a whole lot of time to prepare. I think I got the notice one day last week, at the end of the week. One of my biggest concerns is the width of the road. It's my understanding that the way these new parts were approved was they didn't meet a minimum requirement where the road would have to be widened, so therefore the road wasn't widened. It's less than 18 feet on my end. If you pass a combine, which is pretty common during that year, you have to find a driveway to pull in, or get a hit, one or the other. When they go to harvest, we've got a number of big semi trucks that come through there. Again, you have to find a driveway. You got to get out of the way. As I said, it's a dead-end street, and the dimensions of the roads do vary. I could get into a lot of other things, but I'll keep it short. I think the road's unsafe now, and I can't imagine what will happen if we put another 26 houses in there, and then have to exit those houses out on Highway 31. 31 is bad all the time, usually in the mornings and in the afternoons. We're used to slowing down when we come down 31 to turn on Brown Mill to keep from getting rear-ended. If you leave Brown Mill, you can't turn right. There's no way. So you just have to sit there and wait until the traffic breaks up. The road does flood. Shortly after I moved in, I had something go on at the house, and my grandkids couldn't get to the house because the road was flooded. And it's happened one other time since then. The culvert is undersized. That needs to be corrected, period. I don't care who does it, it needs to be corrected. It's a life safety issue. And it's gone on ever since I've been there. I've got pictures of it. I've got pictures of Brights Lane, which is below us on the other side of the Shade Creek. The water there has been at least 6 feet over the road. I mean, it's just a normal flooding type of area. What little I got to review the drawings and my inability to understand sometimes what I'm looking at because of the resolution is whether or not there's a retention, some kind of a pond that catches water runoff when it runs out of this neighborhood. It's going to go right into Shade Creek. In 2021, TVA wanted to come through there and build a power line. Somehow, somebody put a resolution together that said that because of the aquatic state and other issues, they would build there. I had that number here somewhere. Resolution 2103-05. we talked about the traffic. I'm still concerned about schools. We keep adding people to Sumner County. I had a conversation with one of our representatives last week about this. He told me in the last year and a half to 2 years, there's been 15,000 acres developed in Sumner County. Over here Lake is 22,000 acres. What are we doing? We gotta eat somehow. We need to keep this land. We're on a volunteer fire department. I know on the street, out of research, that it starts out at 8, turns to a 6. They want to turn it back into an 8, and from there on is a 3-inch line. That's what I'm on. Now I've got water pressure, but I don't have a hydrant. The last mile of the road doesn't have any fire hydrants. All we got is the some kind of a southern track at the very end that they can open periodically to let the pipe drain. So that's all we got. I talked to the water department. They said the best thing I gotta do is build a swimming pool if I want water at my property in case of fire. I said, really? That's what you do? I worry about setting precedents. You know, we've already approved 2 bills in that neighborhood. If we approve a 3rd, how are we gonna deal with all the traffic on that little skinny road? Someone's gonna get hurt. I worry about lawsuits down the road. I moved to the country for a reason, and nobody seems to understand that. I guess that pretty much wraps it up. The only other thing I would say is, I don't know enough about how the tax assessment is done, but if these houses are approved, will they come in there and review the whole neighborhood to the new bills? So I'm paying for amenities I don't even have and won't ever have. Property tax. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I think there are still some questions with this property that I'd like to address, so let me start with you, Josh, and see where it goes. And what, as you know, I live on that road. And the change in traffic, trying to get on and off of 31E from Brandon Mill, which is it's a T intersection. It's gotten really bad, and I don't think direction signals are the answer. I think center lanes and shoulders are. At what point does somebody do a traffic study on the entire road that determines what needs to happen with 31?
Yes, sir. And that there's been, I kind of, like I was joking around at the beginning, that there's been lots of applications on this one. I lost track of how many traffic studies that have been done on it. When, as you I know, remember when not this is done with, there's another developer, another group of folks all together.
364 units.
364 units was proposed. That warranted everything you could imagine. A stoplight, or a freeway stop there, turn lanes on the road, turn lanes on Grand Mill Road. And with a development that size, the developer was like, hey, absolutely, we'll do it, you know. As the development kept getting scaled back, we were getting revised traffic studies, and you know, when you go from 360 lots to 23, it's a different story. And my understanding on the more recent updates to the traffic study is it just didn't show those things being warranted yet.
Right.
And again, TDOT won't allow that. They won't allow a turn lane to be put in at a location unless they feel like it's warranted. And there's a list of, it's called warrant analysis that they do. And so they do a list, and it's particularly true with traffic signals, but turn lanes and other improvements and that kind of stuff, it's got to be warranted before they allow you to do it. And so the analysis that's been done most recently on this showed that none of that was going to meet those thresholds. And Mr. Moore, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but that's my memory on it. But within the road, Brandon Mill Road, turn lanes on the road, that kind of thing, that we probably have a little more leeway there because it is a not support it, I mean, that's, we could, take another.
Yeah, I'm not, it's going from 364 to 23 is, as far as the neighbors are concerned, is a boom. But at some point, you keep adding, there's going to be a cumulative effect of that intersection. And who is that a county determination? I mean, I can't expect a developer.
It's ultimately a T-dot determination, but I mean, that's something that we could, Marshall, right, Marshall Boyd from my office. Sorry, it's been a long week already. That Marshall Boyd from my office, we could look into that. We could get with T-dot and try to figure out where we are on that and what would be warranted. And they do spot safety improvements all the time. As you know, up the road a little bit at, was it Mount Vernon and another intersection, they've done some safety improvements through there. We might not want to see exactly what they did there, but they will pay to do it.
They did it several years ago. They did it right at Shea Creek Road and Rice Lane.
Yes, sir.
And a couple more 100 yards, they would.
And so we could, again, the traffic study, I remember right, didn't show that was working for this development, but that doesn't mean we can't have the conversation with T-Dot.
It was a long time ago, and things have changed. Well, we can talk about that at some point.
I'll be Marshall on that. That's something that we need to do anyway.
I totally miss the restricted covenants.
You may go on.
Yeah, could you? This was kind of a small package. 500,
I got it down to 500, you can see that.
527 pages of this meeting. Now, these were restrictions, you had them?
Yes, sir.
Shell Brothers?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And as Josh mentioned, that was not a requirement, but we wanted to make sure that what is going in to this development is good. And people adhere to that.
Are there, you're a civil engineer, so you might know this, are there standard calculations done by USGS that would determine what size that culvert should be? I measured it tonight, and it's 66-inch CMP.
Yeah, so I mean, you would have to do what's called an HYA design for the culvert itself. I mean, there's culvert design that you can utilize that would size the culvert based on the storm events that are coming to it. And so, I mean, it's something that is, if as Josh was mentioning, if this was a culvert that was downstream of us, then we would more than likely have to
It's not
do that check and design. But yes, sir, there's standard software and design software to design culverts, and civil engineers use them every day.
I suspect a lot of the problem is from that Shiloh project, which is fairly intense, just to the north of us.
There's a lot of natural drainage that goes through Shiloh. They designed that whole subdivision around that,
Yeah,
basically.
and they didn't have any settling or slow down basins that I know of.
There's one small one down there at the kind of the base of the hill. That was a charity pictures.
Because what Mr. Jackson's talking about, the concerns, and especially the Bryce Lane, because this project has no basins to slow down the flow.
Yeah, so I can speak to that. I mean, obviously I mentioned this at the August Planning Commission meeting when we had the sketch plat approved. This project has obviously dwindled down from, as you mentioned, 364 lots. I was not involved in that project at all. I believe the second sketch plat that was approved was for just over 100 lots. At one point, there was a site plan on the table that was like 163 lots. That was a cluster lot. but we now have 23 lots, and I believe the requirement is 1.089 units per acre. We're at 0.3, plus or minus 0.3 units per acre. With the larger lots, you are able to utilize, you have a much larger yard, which allows for water to sheet flow to the yard and gradually and absorb and slow down before it gets into the creek.
Okay.
And so that is something that obviously we're analyzing and addressing with the construction documents that have been submitted and are being reviewed by the county engineer. And then two, the type of road cross-section that we went with, the rural cross-section that we're proposing also allows for us to show those calculations to where you don't have detention on site, because you have other means and methods to slow that water down.
Yeah, the concern obviously is Bryce Lane.
Yes.
You know, it's not gonna have a project through your project, it's pretty much, that culvert all the way down. Bryce Lane at some point will become a big issue. Yeah, especially as more stuff develops on roads, everything drains, that is the drainage course. I'm sorry, what was the point?
Yes, sir. So those are the restrictions there. At some point, the responsible parties might update that screen a little bit, maybe the projector we might be able to see it a little better. I don't know who would pay for that. But anyway, that's right. I'm sorry. The restrictions, that again, these were turned in voluntarily by the applicant. This is something county can require, we can't mandate, on rezoning, we can't, and we did, let's say we're in a residential, but for by right applications like this, we certainly are not allowed to get into any kind of discussion on, discussion's fine, but requirements on house size and that kind of thing, you get into some fair housing act stuff pretty quick there, that gets you in trouble. And so, in full disclosure, they have shown everything that they're going to be requiring for this development here. I don't know if you can read it. You can't use it for anything other than single family. It talks about minimum home size, one-story structure, 1,600 square feet, two-story structure, no less than 2,200. No above-ground swimming pools, no barbed wire, chain link fences, no single wides, no double wides, modular homes, duplexes, multifamily. So that's above and beyond what the county can require. We are required by state law to allow modular homes, double wides, and that kind of thing, manufactured homes anywhere in the county. We cannot prohibit them except in the PUD where they have restrictions in place in the PUD. No noxious or offensive activities, we say like that. No swine, sheep, goats, snakes, etc. There's a lot of stuff there. Owners have to keep the lots mowed. Outbuildings have to be to the rear of the dwelling. Exterior outbuildings have to be brick, stone, stucco, party. Stock barns aren't allowed on any lot less than 5 acres. Both front and side entry garages will be allowed. If the detached garage building is placed on the property, the exterior must be the same material as the house at the exterior. So if you do a detached garage, it's got to be the same, hardy board or brick as the house. No junk vehicles, no RVs to be used as a dwelling. All garbage cans, talk about their locations. Driveways have to be completed. Driveways have to be asphalt or cement. We don't have a requirement on the books for that in the county, on these residential lots, so that is above and beyond. All lots less than 5 acres, the electrical and telephone, all the wires have to be underground. This is standard language here, where any re-subdivision or anything has to go through the planning commission, so it's saying. Is there another code check here?
I think it's just one page, Josh.
If this were approved,
Actually, the second page, sorry.
Then there's some enforcement language, they run the land, for the chain of title for 25 years. Enforcement is the responsibility of the owners. And so again, it's not a county document, it's not something we enforce, but it's enforced by the owners of the land to be granted.
Okay, so Once all lots are done, all bets are off? Or
It's
is
supposed to
it
last for, well, it's supposed to last for 25 years, and then it's up to the homeowners association to extend it.
Okay, so there is a homeowners association.
That was my understanding. I don't know. I mean, with restrictions like this,
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, that
I
people,
don't think it's a requirement.
people have different feelings on HOAs. We have to require them whenever there's common open space. If there's anything that's in common open space, we have to require an HOA because somebody has to own it. Otherwise, it goes to a tax sale and then the county ends up dealing with it. And so this development is not, as far as I know, what is proposed to have any common open space. And so there's no HOA absolutely required, but they can settle that, that's not a problem.
Or if TDEC or somebody said, you gotta do something.
If something changed through the process where they ended up having to set aside something that's common open space, then we would mandate that an HOA be set up. The property next to it there, will have an HOA.
So those requirements, I'm just curious, trying to learn, because I don't know, how binding that is.
I defer to the legal staff, but they're enforceable in court. Yep.
You have restrictions that run with the deed that would imply that I don't know where they're planning on encompassing these, but this is a quasi HOA based on these restrictive covenants being on there, but they do expire based. I'm going on based on what was said. It expired 25 years, so I can see where they easily go over restrictions at that time, so that's what we're doing.
Yeah. Okay, but you don't know if those are deed restrictions or?
Well, as he's mentioned, it would go along with the deed.
Okay.
And I mean, those covenants and restrictions would be recorded.
Okay. All right.
And noted on the plat.
Yes.
We had spoken in the past with the previous applicant
Yes, sir.
about a green belt buffer, maintaining some of the greenery along Brandon Mill Road. Is that been addressed to your knowledge?
So I think the last time, I'm trying to think back here, the last time the vegetated buffer along Brandon Mill was discussed was whenever we came back through with a 100 lot subdivision where we were implementing that. With the reduction in the homes and with the homes along that face Brandon Mill, fronting Brandon Mill, that has been removed from the plan.
I think what was discussed, there was something that was discussed at the sketch plan approval about maintaining the buffer right here.
Through there.
Yeah, that was what was discussed. There's a district tree cover right here, and so
I mean, I can see that easily being done. I mean, I don't see that being, and it's especially on the 5 acre tracts.
Yeah.
The 3 acre lots that front Brandon Mill, I think that would be harder to do.
That wasn't discussed.
Yeah, that
that wasn't discussed.
So, I mean,
and frankly, there's nothing there anyway, right?
well, the thing, so, I mean, full transparency, I think I mentioned this at sketch by, the 5 acre tracts that are shown on this plan are for reference. Because they're 5 acres, we can separate those via deed and fully intend to do that. But we wanted to make sure that y'all saw the full plan that we were trying to move forward with.
Yeah.
And we're trying to bait and switch or do anything like that. Those are technically legally allowed to be separated via deed, and I believe that's the intent to do that.
Okay.
Everything else would have to come back through with the final plat. Those would be separated via deed.
Okay. Yeah, because they're over 6 acres, both of them.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's my understanding, based on the discussions I've had with the developer and the builder, that the intention with the 5 acre tract is to maintain the vegetation that's on there to the full extent possible, except for where the house is and where the septic areas are.
Okay. And then the only other thing is, Josh, I don't know if we need to put that into the record, but I received that from the state water utility district, and they are, or at least what they told me today is, it will be an 8-inch main all the way to the railroad right of way. And guess the requirement is on fire hydrants is every house has to be within 500 feet of fire hydrants.
Yes, sir.
It looks like the 4 hydrants they've got on there accommodate that.
Yeah. And we'll,
Speak to that. So I have not seen this, I know,
Yeah,
we
it's
spoke,
exactly.
I know we spoke prior to the meeting, just briefly about this. Obviously, the previous plan that came through had full approval as far as a letter of availability from Custer Stream Bethpage. We've moved forward, we are moving forward with amending that availability just because we have to revise it from the 166 lots that was on the previous availability letter to the 23 that's here. So, they would have to take that, run it through their modeling, they use a third-party engineering firm that does their review and their design. So they would have to run it through their model and see what would be required. We're obviously working with them through that process and coordinating with them. So, I mean, if the model does show that updates are required, that our site alone requires updates, then obviously we would have to adhere to those.
Okay, so we don't need to do
they've got a, how we look at it with utilities is that you have to do whatever utility says. It's not negotiable in the county.
And at this time, I mean, based on this, what is on that paper is fully speculative.
Right.
Because they haven't ran anything to the model that I'm aware
Okay. I didn't know that it was fully speculative, but okay.
It would either need to be an 8-inch or 6-inch line.
Yeah.
We can't be less than 6 because you can't put a hydrant on a 4-inch line or a 2-inch line.
And what we're showing in our development is an extension of a 6-inch line to the proposed roadway that we have, and then a 6-inch all the way to the end of the cul-de-sac. And we're meeting the hydrant requirement for the county.
And water is up to the water district, so whatever they want to do, White House Utilities will have people do lines and do all kinds of things. They don't have to run the line 500 feet for the project, but they have to run it half a mile, because White House says they have to. And that's just part of it.
I've spoken with Benny Olam personally, and we are at least on the same page as far as moving forward with the coordination for the water itself. And obviously we'll be required to complete that prior to running construction.
You can keep that around if you want.
Thank you.
I can send it to Josh.
Thank you.
And I've got an electronic copy, so. I don't have any other questions.
Am I allowed to respond to one last comment that the gentleman spoke about? As far as, I mean, you brought it up too, as far as traffic is concerned, I know there's traffic concerns along 31. It's my understanding, and I know Josh brought up the 18-foot wide roadway. Based on the traffic counts that I've seen from the previous traffic studies with the 23 lots, and the fact that the majority of the Brandon Mill is of quote-unquote rural place type with lower traffic trips, AASHTO standards classify something that's 400 daily trips or less as a rural road, and their requirement is 18 feet
Yeah.
for the road.
Well, and what Mr. Jackson is talking about, living there for 25 years, when 2 pickup trucks pass at that culvert right in front of the project, it's pretty hairy because it drops off 5 feet on your side and about that much on the other side, because it is a 66-inch CMP.
Yes.
So have I actually mentioned the asphalt there? No, but I think it's just a little under 18.
Okay.
And so when we talk about, we're not trying to make life hard for anybody, but, we get plenty of CEMC trucks, garbage, Gordy's garbage service and stuff. And when you pass before a school bus, you're white knuckle.
Yeah.
And I don't know that we can do anything about that, but it sure would be worth talking about. Just because if we get sued, we still have to defend ourselves at the county, and we don't need to spend any more money on the law than we do already. Those poor guys are working in Detroit. So, it is 18 feet substandard.
It is technically, yes. And so the planning commission for way earlier, it's not unprecedented in the county, that's been done before. The county historically has looked at an 18-foot road, right wide road, as Mr. Morrow was saying, as adequate. It's not optimal. A new road that would be built would typically, historically, have been 22 feet. The new road that's been built for this development, that was 18 feet. We've gone to a narrow cross section, so the county's kind of said.
With 2 feet of shoulder.
Right, that's right, 18 feet is adequate. So, there's probably some problem spots we could work with the highway department on, on some areas and on the road, to look at.
Well, it's probably going to require retaining wall or fill to slope down, and especially on their side is probably the scariest part of the entire road.
Well, and that's where we would probably be working with them to facilitate some kind of improvements like that. If there's something like that that is a safety issue on their front edge, we want to look at it.
Okay. All right. And then questions, answers, motions.
I have a comment.
Okay.
I feel like they were with the last one. I hear the neighbors, we've heard the neighbors multiple times, because we've seen them several times, but it meets the requirements. So it basically allows our hands to do anything but approve it. Because it, we're working on that, and, so I guess since nobody else is gonna make a motion, I guess I'll make another one, and, to approve it, just because we have no grounds not to. So I'll make a motion for number 1 with A, B, and C.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Do we have any discussion on the motion?
Commissioner Hawkins. Commissioner Mr. Williams.
Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I will say we've definitely heard what Mr. Jackson said. I've heard he reaches out from time to time, and I've been talking to him. I hear him loud and clear. I think you guys hear him loud and clear. And so, as the planning commission knows, we're looking at some zoning changes. That's how it's difficult to address things when applications are before you, right? You kind of, there's a bitter pill that has to be taken sometimes. But there is a way to change the regulations in order to say, well, we're not going to approve anymore, right? And so we're working on that. And so I anticipate bringing something to you guys in the near future that will probably help to do just that.
We're aggressively working on that, and I have been very proud of that. So we hear you, and we're working on it.
Okay. Back to the schedule. Number 10, Clarebrook subdivision preliminary plat.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is 10 residential building lots on South Gray Road, zone rural residential. James and Lane Bricklear, property owners, project designers, agree with the design. This is, UGB. It's well outside the city limits here. It's in the New Deal area. You see where this project is located in relation to the New Deal here. One thing I will note is that comp plan does prioritize the revitalization of this area.
Oh, really?
It does. And so that is one of the things that whenever folks have come through with items, we have had some folks that have come in and very recently actually and have redeveloped some of these buildings in here. Mr. Head is one of them recently that has done just that. So this area there's not necessarily anything that impacts this parcel directly, but that is worth noting is that the county does. This was a regional employment center at one time back in the 50s and 60s. It was a big furniture manufacturing area and that kind of thing. And so, looking at the tax base and that kind of thing, revitalization of this area is a priority, the places for folks to live, go kind of along with that, right? So that's just a comment here. This is the subject property here, along South Prairie Road, as you see. This is an area where you see there's a prominent drainage feature. It's in the middle of the development. It's essentially a pond with a drainage path here. You can classify this as a creek or a stream next to another stream up here. You see the lots here, as I said, 10 lots overall. They range from, looking at it, they're all over an acre, 1.26 acres, ranging up to 3.59 acres. This is the preliminary plat here, and this is the preliminary plat. You see, it's tough to read, I know, with the easement. This is the drain, we would call it drainage easement. It's a creek bank easement, so we are required by TDEC regulations and federal regulations to protect the banks of this creek. So there's 30 feet from the top of the bank that's to be preserved here. That's probably going to make some of these lots critical lots that we're going to need to really look at. So the final plat states they'll need to do that, and they'll need to indicate those as critical lots. Public water is provided by White House Utilities. There's a 6-inch water line along the frontage. There is a hydrant in place at this time to serve this property, and there is an additional hydrant shown on the preliminary plat. So all these lots will be served by a fire hydrant. Fire protection would be provided by the local volunteer fire department, and they'd be on septic tanks. After right of way is shown along railroad, 25 feet from the center center line. A lot of it's meet requirements. They have turned in a full set of construction plans, drainage plans, all the supporting calculations. This will need a notice of coverage, stream determination, and there will be critical lots that we'll look at here. Would need individual building plans. Again, you see where this is located here in a rural place type, right outside that new deal community right here. Kind of is its own little community. That's one of the things that Commissioner Klein and I have talked about a lot. Some of the aspects of the plan, get a bad rap for the centers, that kind of thing. And the way that it was done, I don't think is really conducive to rural community living and that kind of thing. But New Deal is one of them that needs its own plan. I think it needs a better analysis of what's going on there and what assets it has. So again, it is a rural place type. Plat is not in strict compliance with the comp plan, but it does meet our zoning requirements. It doesn't contradict the purposes of zoning. It meets all the requirements that we have for zoning and subdivisions appear to be met. This would be an area, again, we alluded to changes to the zoning and that kind of thing. It would be an area that would be proposed, probably to see a density shift. With zoning changes that the planning commission has been working on, doing public study sessions on. Those aren't implemented though. It's not going to create adverse effects on adjoining property owners. It'll discharge from a pond into a pond, basically, the drainage will. And we don't see that one property owner will benefit to the detriment of the public. So next steps, need to get construction plans approved, as well as any permits from TDEC, that notice of coverage and ARAP, those kind of things. And then final plat approval from the planning commission. After that plat is approved, they can start selling lots. So showing the example motions on the screen to approve. I approve without conditions 9, which is the third. The motion to approve is to find that the county's requirements are met to require county engineer approval and TDEC approval of their permits as a condition. If you'd like to answer any questions, Greenwood Design is in attendance tonight. Any details or questions?
Zach Baker with Greenwood Design, happy to answer any questions.
Anybody got any questions? I don't have any questions. Sounds like it's another by right.
Yes, sir, it is. It is a by right application that we again, critical lot provisions, that kind of thing, they're going to have to spend some money on additional planning and review and that kind of thing.
Commissioner Miller, Mr. Williams.
Passes unanimously. Item 11, Somerset Downs. We should take a 5-minute break.
I can do that.
Let's take a 5-minute break, we'll reconvene in 5 minutes. Is that a good idea?
I know.
That's good to know, reassuring. It was actually, she was the employee solid out was her. Yeah, I was actually really curious. Okay. Yeah, I mean, the process is. Gotcha. And this is with your guys'. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And I'm not surprised. That's part of it. You don't put it right in front of the houses.
But yeah, to make that a full circle.
Okay, I'd like to bring us back to order if we could. Finish this short list. Okay, back to Somerset Downs. Is that right, page 7? Lots 105, 106.
Yes, sir.
Flat.
Yes, sir. The planning commission saw this one a couple months ago. I won't spend too much time on it. Because the planning commission has seen this as a PUD amendment. This county commission and planning commission has a PUD amendment and a preliminary plan. Essentially what it's doing is there's a 3.92 acre parcel here that's proposed to be divided into 5 home sites. It is a vested project at this point. It does have a PUD amendment that was approved by the county commission a few months ago, back in July. So they do have a vested property right. It's some PED, Planning and Development, Shack Wild Homes LLC owns it. Greenwood Design is the project engineer and planner for this. The preliminary plat was approved by the planning commission in September 2023. And so right now they're looking to do a final plat on these lots. And to once that plat is recorded, they'll be able to sell them. This is an aerial photo of the subject property. Just kind of like when I said, but this is the detention right here for the Somerset Downs project phase 7. This is the Hollows subdivision. We've got a project funded through the county commission right now with using federal dollars to do some extensive drainage improvements in that neighborhood. So we took great care with the developer to make sure that they weren't doing anything that's going to add to that problem. And they indicated that what they're proposing to do is not. They've got design and everything that demonstrates that. So this is the overall phases 4 through 7 of the plan of the Somerset Downs development. You see phase 7 down here. This is the lot question. See, here it is again. This is that preliminary plat that was approved a couple months ago. And this is the final plat here. So kind of summary of what they're doing. You got this overall tract right here. You got an existing house right here. The guy that lives in this house is the developer. He's bought this property. He's wanting to add the back of the property to his backyard, so he gets a bigger back lot. That's lot 106. And lot 105 is the remainder here that's being subdivided here, so that you're creating these additional lots. So five big lots for one. They did turn in representative architecture, show what these houses are going to look like. White House Utilities is the utility provider for water and sewer. All lots within 500 feet of hydrant, volunteer fire department. They have posted a surety in my office in the amount of $35,875 to ensure that anything that they need to do, a street light needs to be installed, or two, sidewalks, all those kind of items, make sure everything's taken care of. We'll hold that surety until all that's done. When it's done, we'll release it. This is on Somerset Down 77, which is a pretty newly constructed road. They'll be putting the top coat down on that at some point in the near future. They turned in all their drainage plans and everything. Their plans did indicate that detention basin will need minor modifications to the structure. That's indicated on the plans. There's a plate that needs to be installed on it. They may have already done that. I'm not sure, but they will need to do it. And I think they're not showing any extra runoff into the hollows. We worked hard to protect that development, given all the various issues they've had over the years. This is consistent with our the planning and development that was proposed and with the county zoning resolution. It doesn't contravene any of our regulations or any purposes of those regulations. We work to ensure that there's not going to be any adverse impacts. During the neighborhood meeting, the neighbors were actually kind of happy, it seemed like, to see that this was happening, because this particular lot had kind of been grown up over the years and not really maintained. It has been owned by the developer for a long time. And there's no one that's going to benefit to the detriment of the public, and they were aware of it. So next steps, after this plat is approved, they get signatures on it, recorded in the register of deeds, and then be building permits. So Mr. Chairman, there's a motion on the screen to approve this final plat tonight. The one to approve just has just clarification that any restrictions of the Somerset Downs PPD shall apply. These folks will have to be a part of that HOA as well. And that concludes my presentation. I believe the property owner and the applicant's representative are in attendance. Mr. Shorey is here as well, the owner.
Any questions for any motions?
Motion to approve.
Any discussion on the motion? No? Good.
Commissioner Holmes? Commissioner Miller? Mr. Williams?
All right. Item 12, Roger Manor subdivision, final plat.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a little bit unusual. This is a two-lot subdivision that we forwarded to the planning commission. It's a two-lot subdivision of an existing 5-acre tract on Shunpike. Zoning is rural residential. Applicant is Gilpin Builders LLC, surveyor Todd Bollinger. Normally, this is something that, as you guys know, two-lot subdivisions we can do administratively. On this one, though, we do keep a close eye. We got an email from a resident in the last few days, copy one of the county commissioners on it with this exact question. Why do you keep them from coming back with 2 more lots, 2 more lots, and 2 more lots? And so we really do strive to make sure that we keep an eye on that. It's not that folks can't do these things, but we don't want somebody to circumvent, take advantage of the fact that I can approve these things administratively and develop the whole property, basically, or multiple properties, 2 lots at a time. And so we take it as it's part of our integrity, essentially, that we do the right thing. And on something like this, they came through with a 2-lot subdivision, and then which we approved, and then the lot right next to it, they came through with another one. And so not necessarily they're trying to get away with anything. These are 2 separate lots. It's the same owner, same surveyor, and all that stuff. And we just felt like in full transparency, we wanted to make sure that it goes to the planning commission to be approved or to be reviewed. So we're forwarding it to the planning commission to confirm that no additional requirements are going to be needed. So to clarify that, number 1 here, this one was the first lot that was turned in, 80 Creek subdivision, that was recorded, approved by my office and recorded on October 23rd. And then they turned around and they turned this one in, which is just another lot to the south. Another 2-lot subdivision. This is the application that's before the planning commission out here. And this is the plat that we did receive. So, on a 4-lot subdivision, as we saw earlier, hydrants need to be installed, those kinds of things. Hydrants aren't required for 1 or 2-lot subdivisions. That's not something the county's ever required for minor submittals to install a hydrant. But for major submittals, it is. And so had this been submitted as a 4-lot subdivision, a hydrant would have been needed. And so we did ask them to check and see if a hydrant can be installed for these 2 lots. And White House let us know that could not be done. The photo plans can be met for this 2-lot subdivision. It is in the rural place type. It is consistent overall with the purposes of zoning and that kind of thing, again, not strictly in compliance with the comprehensive plan. Doesn't convey the purposes of zoning or anything or subdivision regulations, but there is an inconsistency potentially there with the hydrant. I wanted to defer to the planning commission to make sure that you have, to see how you guys felt about it really. Again, as a 2-lot subdivision, wouldn't have to put in a hydrant, but with a 4-lot subdivision you do. And so they may need an exception for that if the planning commission wants to grant one. No adverse impacts and no detriment to the general public is somebody's benefit. So Mr. Chairman, the example motions are on the screen to approve or to deny this. The one to approve there would be to include variance from county fire hydrant requirements for this 2-lot subdivision. And we would like to get an EPSC plan for the 4 lots turned in as well. That concludes my presentation. The builder, Mr. Craig Evans, is in attendance here tonight and can speak to any questions that the planning commission might have.
So I'm confused regarding the fire hydrant issue. Was the preliminary plan approved before the resolution?
So there's not a preliminary plan on when you do a minor subdivision plat, it's just a 1 submittal final plat that gets turned in. We check it for compliance with all the county regulations. If it meets all the requirements, then I'm essentially compelled to approve it administratively. If there's anything that doesn't appear to be met, or they need a variance or anything like that, I'm compelled to send it to the planning commission.
Well, so there's not fire coverage and it's because of a pressure issue by White House utility.
That's right.
That's interesting. Any questions?
I do, for Josh. So if a citizen had not have brought this issue to your attention, would it have been?
I apologize, I couldn't.
I said if a citizen had not emailed and brought this to your attention, then it could have kind of gone under the radar, correct?
Well, nobody, but no, the citizen email was totally unrelated. It was just somebody kind of venting about development stuff, and asking questions, which is good. But no, this was months ago, essentially, or weeks ago. I try to pay attention to these things. I got the 2 plats, and I reviewed the one and sent them comments, and then reviewed the other one a while later, and then I realized, look, I've seen this before. We've been here recently.
Was it purchased at the same time?
I think it's 2 separate tracks that I think had 2 separate owners. I don't know if they bought both of them at the same time. I'd have to defer to you guys on that.
Do you want to ask any questions?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Property, we were able to purchase the initial lot from Mr. Martin. We bought that property and through our development at the time, the neighbor that owns the property had joined that. We don't actually own that property as of now. The property owner, Mr. Heinrich, still owns that. He doesn't really desire to have 5 acres. He offered us an additional lot, and that's how this came about.
Which makes me conflicted because it's really four lots. It's the same person that's doing it, and that would fall under our rule, which I'm so adamant about. So, any ideas, David?
No, I really don't, because, this is a final plan approval.
myself. I mean, there's numerous homes in this area. This adds one more there. While I am aware of the concerns for fire protection for all the homes in that community, there are 2 fire hydrants within a mile of each one of these, which I know is clearly more than your 500 linear feet that you would like to have. There's been some conflicting statements within White House Utility District on whether or not that would happen. Dusty Lane, from my understanding, has been at least had the lines increased to support that in the future. It's just not happened as of now. But something that we would attempt to do, if the board would allow, is a fire suppression system in homes.
Fire sprinklers in homes. Well, that is a consideration. I would imagine there would be enough pressure for that. It's getting more common all the time. How much of the White House water district is below?
It seems like it kind of varies up, and I've gotten this comment from a number of folks that it seems like in recent months, and I don't know what's changed, but it seems like White House and some of the other utilities are taking a dimmer view of allowing new hydrants on their lines. And I don't know why that is exactly. I don't know if they've got a new computer program or a new model or something like that. But there was a time when something with an 8-inch line would almost certainly, in White House, would be allowed to have that hydrant on it. But now it's about half the time it comes back that you can't put a hydrant on the line. It's not at all uncommon. And it seems like something has changed.
You're right, it does seem like something has changed, and it'd be interesting to know what that is, because, I mean, that's the problem we have in that page, and that's why they put in that new 300,000 gallon tank or whatever that is, and they're gonna add another one, because they don't have pressure, so. Well, so that is an option, Chrissy.
I have one more comment. So is this on the 20 PSI system, is that right?
Right, yeah, it has to have that.
So that is the state minimum for water pressure.
For a hydrant, not necessarily.
Correct. No, for a hydrant. In the house would be fine for pressure, but I mean,
Is that what the main lines are at, it's 20 pounds?
80 PSI.
Yes, you have to have a 20 PSI residual pressure, so whenever they turn on the hydrant, it has to maintain 20 PSI. With 500 gallon per minute flow.
Oh.
It's actually, you don't mind me interrupting, that 20 PSI, last time I researched that, is a standard to a water meter too. So it's to service the structure as well. So if you take a reading in the meter, it has to be a minimum of 20 PSI.
Right.
That's awfully low.
And that's because when the pressure's getting lower than that, apparently there's some kind of risk of contaminants and that kind of thing, and water ceases to be drinkable when it's not
It
good.
creates a backflow.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that. I can't imagine pressure less than 50, but, okay, well, I don't know if it's worth putting in the fire sprinklers in the house. It's not horribly expensive, but that is an option, Chris, yeah.
It would require variance, and we're against that.
Okay, well, nobody has any other questions?
No, I just.
All right, well, we should have a motion then.
Okay, well, I'm gonna make a motion. Number 329.
I'll say
Second by Chris Miller.
Commissioner Morris? Commissioner White? Mr. Williams?
2-1. All right, Sumner County Planning Commission resolution, approval of the 2024 Planning Commission submittal and meeting calendar.
Sir, so at the end of each year, the county planning staff will circulate a calendar for the coming year that shows meeting dates for the next year, the snow deadlines and the second snow deadlines. That basically shows you how the process works here. And it spells out, some details like, we require written response to comments and various things like that. And the snow times, 3 o'clock p.m. is always the snow deadline. Anyway, we post that calendar on the website. We send it out to surveyors and engineers and that kind of thing. So in past years, what we've done, we've asked the planning commission to adopt this as a formal action. There was a time years ago where the calendar was kind of at the whim of the planning director to some extent. He can take things late and that kind of stuff. I really tried to put a stop to that when I came to work here. We set the times, asked for eligibility for everybody. Took a little while, but everybody got on board. And so I'm ready to the planning commission for you guys to adopt, not me, all right? And so that way I can tell people this is the policy of the planning commission. I can't take your application a day late, I'm sorry. And so that's the purpose of bringing it to you guys.
Okay.
And so approving it, which has been done for several years now, we've made the product of the Sumner County Regional Planning Commission rather than the staff, and really formalized this as a policy. So it's there if you guys have any questions. There's nothing weird or unusual about it. We're keeping third Tuesday of the month. You kind of back up 20-something days to the first middle every time. I don't think there's any changes due to holidays or any weird stuff like that. So it's pretty straightforward this year.
Yeah, I haven't looked for holidays, but I think there are amendments to that can be made.
Yes, sir. If something came up, yes, sir, absolutely.
But what's most important is that you've locked in your submission.
That's right.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Second by that, okay.
Okay, Commissioner Holmes? Commissioner Holmes?
Okay, passes unanimously.
Yes, sir. The next thing is administrative approvals. These are just, we do try toward absolute transparency. And so I put these are the 1 and 2 lot subdivisions and plan amendments that I approved administratively. I put them in the packet, I put them here and on the screen at the meeting so everybody sees what we're up to. As you can see, there's been a whole bunch of them that have been signed off on by myself and recorded with registered deeds. Most of them we're seeing a whole lot of re-subdivisions and that kind of thing where there's a house on one lot and they're cutting off an acre or whatever. I think you see a lot of that these days. People trying to get out ahead of any changes. There's one of them we just discussed. Any questions? Like I said, just put them on there. I don't expect any real comments or anything. If anybody ever has any questions about any of them, just please let me know.
Okay.
No action required on that.
Item 15, director's update.
Yes, sir. Then I just wanted to briefly touch base on, I didn't want to do a study session today because I think this is going to be a very long meeting, and so I didn't want to wear you guys out anymore with already were, but we've been working for a number of months on zoning updates as far as updates to the map and updates to the zoning regulations and that kind of thing. And I've got a product that's essentially ready to go at this time, I think. There's details, that you guys, I need some thumbs up before everything has to be publicly advertised, and there's a whole, it's one of those things you really got to do it right. If you mess something up along the way, you can be overturned by the judge, and then you start over and that kind of thing, so we don't want that. And so any changes, I've got to proceed per the TCA and our requirements. But next month, I'll be bringing that to you guys. I'm going to send you guys a draft out, and probably get that out here before too long for public consumption. If we're ready for that, we might not be quite ready for that, but we'll definitely do a study session and talk about all the details. And probably what we'll do, we may focus on some of the lot size stuff, and maybe not focus as much on some of the short-term rental stuff. I don't know some of that's up in there. I've got some folks that are wanting me to pursue the short-term rental thing, but you get too many things going at once, it gets confusing. And so we probably want to tackle one thing at a time.
Yeah, I think if I could chime in here, I think some of the zoning issues and amendments 2035 plan. Well, we've been talking about this for the better part of a year. You know, and so the temporary rental units is probably should take
All four hours. Understand. There's also a couple other small changes that I want to talk to you guys about that we've been kicking around at the staff level. One of them is accessory dwelling units. If you guys know, like mother-in-law suites and that kind of thing. We approve all those administratively at this time, unless there's a deviation that's needed or something, a problem with them when they get forwarded to the Board of Zoning Appeals. We take a lot of heat for the ADU process was put in place to try to help folks. We get a lot of pressure applied to us, I guess you might say, for those staff approvals. And so, well, just in general, just everybody you can imagine, contractors to property owners, all kinds of folks. And so I'm kind of wanting to get out of this administrative approval business on those things and start sending them either to the Board of Zoning Appeals to all be approved there, as a special exception by the BZA, or we could do it as a site plan approval through the Planning Commission. I don't know. I want to talk to you guys about that some more. I'm just kind of introducing it right now.
Okay.
But like I said, the administrative approvals, that stuff can get you in trouble too at the staff level too. I'm always comfortable, comfortable doing some things, but there's some things that I feel like maybe I'll be done in public. And that's the purpose of the BZA and Planning Commission hearings on things. So there's that. That's really the extent of the zoning stuff that we're working on. The lot size stuff is a big ticket. That's a big deal. And then I want to just touch base with you guys. Back in the budget process, we talked about potentially changing the name of my department. And that I kind of threw it out there, and some people were like, yeah, let's do that. And I hadn't really heard anything else on it. If there's an interest in that, if that's great, we'll do it. And it would be totally fine. If there's not, then we won't. It doesn't matter to us, but I've been meaning to circle back on that for a few months now and see what everybody thought.
I'm glad you did, because I think development services is so innocuous. I think planning, if we could do planning and development, or we could just do planning.
Here's about it. This is just my law. This is one that I want to throw out there. Planning and engineering. That's I think that's kind of more straightforward. I'm throwing that out there. I don't get a vote, but that's a possibility that we can do. We can do whatever you guys want to. But there's been some distaste with the development services thing. It does reflect what we do. The service we provide is to the development community, but I think it gets read in a way. It's a little bit of a euphemism. They wouldn't say we help them very much at all. They'd say we help them back. But it is a service we provide is to help them get in compliance with our regulations. But we'll swing circle back on that. But if there is a desire to do that, we'll need to, there's little stuff, business cards and
Sure.
Website updates.
Shirts.
Shirts, yeah.
Shirts. Anybody have any ideas or thoughts? Has anybody given that any? I remember when you brought it up, the budget, and so I thought that's a good idea. So,
Commissioner Hyde, I think is the one, Chairman Hyde, next to the car. Yeah, the planning and engineering, does that work, or is it? Okay. I'll talk with Commissioner Mansfield about it, the legislature, and see if there's, him and Commissioner Hyde felt like there needs to be some kind of commission action on the department of names and that kind of thing. Which I get that, I think that's totally fine. So if y'all want to do that, I don't have a problem with doing it that way. It's fine.
you want to run a vote, Ken?
Sure. So the motion is to send the name change to legislative.
Planning and engineering.
And that was seconded by Commissioner Holmes. So Commissioner Holmes, Commissioner Miller, and Mr. Williams.
Passes unanimously.
Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
One more
Maybe
vote.
there's an adjournment.
All in favor?
Just giving Mr. Williams. That's